We back, and I have my brother Dave with me, like I said, and we're gonna get right into this thing because me and Dave have an event coming up here in Las Vegas. I'm gonna gather a couple of our people together. This is a very important video. You don't want to miss out. If you live in the Western USA and you are a flat earther, get in the video description right now. Join Flat Earth West on Facebook. Join Flat Earth West on Facebook, and that way it's a group for all of us Westerners to stay updated on events, meetings, gatherings, presentations. You don't want to miss it. Join Flat Earth West. And again, welcome to the panel, Dave, man. And what we want you to do is kind of give us a sneak peek of what we're gonna be expecting next month. And I know we're gonna be talking a broad range of topics.
Right. Well, it isn't a flat Earth talk as such, though. I guess flat Earth plays a little part of it because. Flat Earth basically allows you to realize the extent to which we've been lied to, and the reason behind the lie is essentially to hide the existence of the Creator. And you know, in my case, having seen the Creator's fingerprints on the dome, it changed me from being an atheist for 40 years to somebody who knows that there is a Creator. And it's what pushed me to actually start reading the Bible for the very first time. So what I've been talking about basically comes out of 3 years of research from having read the Bible, just basically reading the Bible, and that launched me into 3 years of research. And you know, it started off as, you know, let's see what the Bible was all about, but it soon turned into looking at my own heritage and the heritage of my people, and finding out that the Bible and that heritage were one and the same. So I basically started correlating what was in the Bible with actually what we're told is history. And finding out that, well, history that has been presented to us, as most of us know now, is a complete fabrication. And it's been a complete fabrication, not for the reasons that, you know, would be sort of apparent to us, but really there's a biblical reason for it. And it's all to do with who we are. And you know, I guess our destiny, essentially. Now, you bro, you talk about the things we should do to change how this world works, and you know, our place in the world. You know, from my research, that's not what I found. I don't think that's what we're supposed to do. You know, the thing is, we've got to change ourselves first, and then essentially everything will change around us. That's the key. It's not about you know, trying to change a system. We can't change a system. That's the one thing I've learned over the last 12 odd years, looking at the system in various different directions. We cannot change a system. It's been in place for too long, and you know, we cannot affect it. We do not have the power to. But it turns out the Most High has the power to change this system and utterly destroy this system. And if you look around the world right now, you're seeing evidence of that, you know, playing out right now. So yeah, what I'm going to be talking about is essentially our story and our place in the world.
It's very interesting. You know, no two people on our flat earth agree 100% on everything, But man, listen, I support the hell out of my brother Dave. I can agree with him. But one thing Dave know, and what we know about each other, Dave know I'm not a biblical centered guy. But I know my brother Dave is biblical centered. Just like a lot of us on the flat earth, we're biblical centered. And the Bible has startling proof for flat earth cosmology. We know that. And I think one of the things is finding our place in the Bible. Because I know when I used to read the Bible, I used to wonder, who am I? I hear about the Philistines, the Canaanites, the Amorites, the Gentiles, and I would say, where was I? Who was me? Which one of these groups was I? And how does the Bible affect me now as opposed to those biblical events, which was real historical events written in mythology? Will you agree with that, Dave?
Well, absolutely, and more than that, it's not just written in mythology. Over the last few decades, we found actual physical proof of these events. Noah's Ark was found. Noah's Ark was found back in 1980, and no, actually, I think it was 70 something. And it was actually in the place that the Bible said it was, in the foothills of Mount Ararat, which is a place called the Valley of the Eight. The 8 people that are on the ark. The Red Sea crossing was found, complete with chariot wheels and chariots and horse and human skeletons on a strange land bridge. In one particular spot where everywhere else in the Red Sea is about a mile deep. This land bridge is like a few hundred meters below the surface. And it's also got 2 granite pillars, either side of the crossing that King Solomon put up there. And it says that in the Old Testament, or I should say the Book of Remembrance. So there's physical evidence, and there's plenty more I could go on and could talk about, but the physical evidence is there. And I started looking at the Bible because of the flat Earth proofs. The Bible was a flat Earth book, but sure enough, it says that we live on a flat, motionless plane. So that got me into reading it, and actually in the course of reading it, because I had nothing to do with any religion whatsoever, nothing to do at all with religion. So my view when reading it wasn't tainted by a doctrine of any kind. So I just read it straight as a story, and believe me, there's a story there, and it's a fairly simple story when you start to realize who those people are. You said that you looked at the Bible and you didn't know who you were. Well, turns out that you are the main character in that book. Yeah, we are the Israelites. We're the descendants of the biblical Israelites. The whole story is about us and our bloodline.
That's something I really would like you to expound on. I haven't met any Hebrew Israelites, but I would love to hear them have a dialogue with you. Are you familiar with the American Hebrew Israelites over here who wear like all of the Star of Davids with all of the... What do you think about their doctrine? Because it's similar to yours, but it's a little bit more radical.
Right. Well, these Hebrew Israelite camps, I'm sorry to say, are controlled opposition. Yeah, they're set up to capture people who are newly awakened, and the point is that we are awakening, as the Book of Remembrance says. When we come to the end of our captivity, which I might go into later, when we come to the end of our captivity, we'll start to wake up and remember who we are. Now, these camps have been set up in advance of this awakening, so that when we awaken, we gravitate towards these camps And these camps are there to take us back into Christianity, a form of black Hebrew Israelite Christianity, but it's still Christianity. That's why you'll notice it's all, united in Israelites in Christ or something like that. Yeah, it's all about leading you back into this false doctrine of Christianity, because it's very sneaky. When you read the Bible and you read things like Joshua, and if you go into the Apocrypha, where it's First Maccabees, you'll find that when we have the Most High behind us, and the Most High is on our side, we're invincible. Nobody can touch us. We've got the Creator of the universe behind us. Yeah, but as soon as He turns His back on us, we become prey. We become defenseless, and they can do whatever they want with us. So these sneaky enemy of ours, basically what they've done is they've set up a system where we sin against the Most High continuously without even knowing about it. Yeah, we break the first and most important commandments. Thou shalt not have any gods before me. Because if we're in Christianity, we put this Jesus character before the Most High. Well, that's breaking the commandment. So as long as we keep doing that, the Most High will keep His back turned on us, and we'll stay in oppression. So these camps are there to still promote this idea of Jesus, or they've renamed Him and recolored Him and called Him Yeshua or Yahushai or whatever. Yeah, but unless you come with a different timeline and story for the guy, it's the same person. Doesn't matter if you give him another name and color him up. It's the same character.
So let me get this straight, Dave. I'm enjoying this because you're biblical centered, you're religious, and I'm not. So this is gonna be excellent. Me and Dave always collab, and we have great discussions. Dave, you're telling me if all of us get on the same page, stop calling on Jesus and all of these names of these gods, and we just acknowledge the Most High, everything will change for us.
Absolutely. And it actually says in the Book of Remembrance, okay, when we go into captivity, we'll be forced to serve new strange gods of wood and stone. It says it right there. Okay. So what two religions do they have us ensnared in? Yeah, the wooden cross and the black stone of Islam. Yeah. So the Bible's already told us about it. Yeah. And that's where we've been ensnared. And it also says that only a remnant of us is going to make it past judgment. Just a remnant. So somebody, a Christian, basically told me the other day that you're outnumbered, dude. You're outnumbered. Yeah, we've got something like 2.2 billion Christians who think the way think the way I think. Yeah, so you're in the minority, it said. So I said, well, tell me, is 2.2 billion a remnant, or is it the few people who don't believe the way that you believe? Are they the remnant? Yeah. So this is the thing. We're going to, most of our people are ensnared in these religions, and as long as they continue to follow these new strange gods, come Judgment Day, which is not too far away, come Judgment Day, they're going to be caught worshipping the wrong guy. So I personally wouldn't want to be one of those people.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of people not getting on track with worshiping the right guy, so to speak. It's because a lot of people don't believe that there's a guy up there that's looking over us. Like how you said earlier when you said when the Most High is behind us, we basically doing good. But when the Most High turn His back on us, then the enemies basically can have their way with us. Well, a lot of people like me, personally, when I hear that, it turns me away from that Most High. It turns me away from that Bible and from that religion, and it make me rebellious, and it make me get mad at that Most High for ever turning his back on me. And it make me say, what kind of God is that? I can't go with that kind of God. So I'm non-religious because I think that the Creator is not that way. I don't think it's a man that turns its back on you when it get mad and stuff. I think that the Creator is a universal intelligence that exists in all things in nature. And I think the wrong that we see on this earth is simply because the imbalance of the human not knowing that the Creator is within it, and that is not this chaotic man that rules you like a bully. And I think if we think the Creator is like that, we become that way. And today we got people that mimic these creators in these books. When you do, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I just want to address that because, okay, when you were a child, okay, and you did a few things wrong, I imagine you did a few things wrong, just like I did, yeah? When your father punished you, I bet you thought, oh, this is not fair, this sucks, you know, this is bad, you know, it could be a really harsh punishment, but, you know, you would have felt, oh no, this is bad, I hate this is crap, and what sort of person is that? Is my dad. But, you know, your dad loves you, right? But still, you need punishment. You need to see the error of your ways. The punishment, you know, depending on what the crime was, right, can be very, very harsh indeed. And, you know, your father would have to be very harsh, even though he loves you. Yeah, for that crime, that punishment must be harsh, and he's going to stick by it until you turn away from the evil that you did.
But now
Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense, but it's the problem with it is its belief. And what happens is when we say that this God is going to bring forth justice, you have a lot of different people around the world, Dave. Like you say, Dave, you say, hey, man, the whole Bible is about us, bro, Sanchez. We're the Israelites, and that God in the Bible is our God. And the reason we're not prospering is because we don't know this. Well, it's a lot of more people around the world that's saying the same thing. They're saying, hey, we're the chosen people and that God is ours. There's so many versions of the Bible and so many groups of people that got the book saying, hey, it's talking about me. It's talking about me. You know, I can name you a bunch of groups right now who feel the same way you feel, but they would disagree that we're the chosen people, and they disagree that God is the way you said. So it's one book, but from this one book comes so many different translations, interpretations, sects and followers and congregations, denominations and wars and conflicts, that I say, hey, maybe the Creator, it don't have nothing to do with this, because at the end of the day, the Creator didn't really write the Bible. It was men who wrote it. They said they was inspired by God, but who knows? We just got to take their word. You say that it's God's word because it's prophetic, but I can argue that. I don't think it's prophecy. I just think it's planning. Whereas the people who wrote the book knew the future. Just like, for example, if you work for Nissan and you know their plans for the next 100 years, and you come to me and say, hey, man, guess what, bro, Sanchez? Nissan going to come out with a car that can fly in 10 years. When that happened, I would go around the world saying, yo, dude is a prophet. He prophesied they was going to make a flying car, but I won't know that. You work for Nissan. You in on their secrets. You know their plans for the next 100 years. So the question is prophecy versus planning. Is the Bible a book of prophecy, or is the people who wrote it just knew the future plans? Now, we got some good questions in the chat room. What I'm going to do is copy them down, and me and Dave will build on these questions later. I'm going to let Dave go ahead and take the mic at this time. Thank you for joining me again too, Dave.
That's all right. Well, it's definitely a book of prophecy, because when it was written, let's say Deuteronomy 28, yeah, for instance, it talks about how we would be going into slavery and affliction again, but this time by ship. Okay, and we would be in slavery and affliction for 400 years. Okay, so there's only one population that's ever been taken by ship into slavery. Okay, now some white people will turn around and say, "Oh no, the Irish were the first people to go into slavery," and it turns out the Irish were our people too. Yeah, I've just been chasing around some data that proves that the original Irish people were black people, and those that went into slavery, who went to the West Indies, were black. So when you go into Deuteronomy, as said, it was written by Moses. It tells you that all the afflictions that would befall us if we were to not comply with our part of the deal. Yeah, and those curses absolutely match what happened to the slaves in America and what happened to those people who were left behind in Africa under colonialism, those people in the West Indies. It matches exactly, so that was a prophecy right there. But if you want some more sort of contemporary prophecy, it says in the Book of Remembrance that Damascus was going to be utterly destroyed. It would become a ruinous heap. Right. Well, the first time in recorded history that Damascus has ever been destroyed is now. It's Syria. Yeah. You can go onto the web now and look at pictures of Damascus now, and it is a ruinous heap. Okay. It also says that in the end days, all the nations are going to gather in a place called the Valley of Megiddo, which is where you get the word Armageddon from, and they were going to fight and destroy themselves. Well, when you find out that Megiddo is right next to where Syria is, and right now you have America, Russia, China, France, UK, they're all there gathered, and it's all lining up. It's lining up like chess pieces.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but yeah, I mean, I can't lie, my brother Dave. If I want to look at the Bible as a prophetic book, it lines up perfectly. But when I bring forth an alternate conclusion that says, hey, maybe the people who wrote the Bible knew what they were going to do, it still doesn't cancel that out. Both can be feasible. I can be right, you can be right. When you said that the curses line up, you got to think about it. The bubonic plague happened. We weren't there when the bubonic plague happened, but we can. What I'm saying is, I wasn't there because it was before my time. You know what I mean? So what I'm saying is, we can prove that the bubonic plague happened, though, some kind of way today, I'm sure. But when we prove that the bubonic plague happened, who's to say it was the bubonic plague? Who gave us that name? What if it was something else? What happened, but we weren't there? For example, what if it was biological warfare and an ancient military poisoned these people and made this plague come on them, but they said, hey, nope, all of these people died because of rats infected them. So they can alter history and change little things about real events. Like it can be a real event that happened, but they can say it happened because, Jesus blew the horn, when really it happened because somebody hit somebody or something, so we weren't really there. So what I'm saying is, when we deal with religion, it's going to always build back to belief. That's why I'm non-religious, but I have nothing against my brothers and sisters who religious. Now what I'll say is this, though. I want to hit you with some of the questions and points that's made in the chat section. But yeah, you go right on ahead and build. And to my people in the chat, if you got questions or points you want to make, I highlight them right there on the screen. I copy them, paste them. Me and Dave will build on them. Also, when me and Dave is done, I'm going to be on with Infinite Plane Society. So stick around. It's going to be a powerful day here today. We also going to open up the panel and have some globe, earth, flat earth debates with O'Shea and the Negro Manosphere. That's going to be very powerful. So, hey, let's continue this, Dave. I'm sorry for being long-winded.
Okay, well, first of all, I'm not religious. I'm not religious in any shape or form, yeah? Religion is the problem here, okay? What we have is a way of life. It's not religion whatsoever, it's a way of life. Now, I get what you're saying about how history has been changed. And yes, it's true, history has been changed. And yeah, I actually believe that the bubonic plague was a false flag event. It was, well, not so much a false flag, but it was a contrived event, just like the Fire of London was a contrived event. But what we're talking about two different things here. Yeah, we're talking about, I'm talking about prophecy that was written, thousands of years ago that applies to today. And yes, there are lots of different translations of the Bible, but the King James 1611 was again a book that was authorized by a black Hebrew Israelite. King James was a black Hebrew Israelite of the line of David. He was a Judite from the line of David. He was a real king, it was real royalty. And he had the book translated, and I think it's in the foreword of the book. He said it was because there are people, the Roman Catholic Church, who want to hide the word of the Most High. And he was getting it translated so that word would not be destroyed. And sure enough, after the 1611 was released, every other version that came out subsequently was changed and messed with and edited, and books were taken out. In fact, the first version of it, the whole Apocrypha was taken out. 14 books disappeared overnight. So yes, it has been changed. But you go back to the 1611, and also start looking at Paleo-Hebrew. You can start deciphering the book in greater detail. The information's there in the English, but the Paleo-Hebrew, and that's also bearing in mind that modern Hebrew is fake, it's Yiddish, not Hebrew. But when you look at it in the Paleo-Hebrew, you start to get a stronger understanding, because it will explain things to you in better detail. So there's no doubt in what you're reading. And there's no doubt that it's us who are the Israelites, the people who are claiming to be us right now, sitting in the land of Canaan. Well, it's very obvious that they're not us. They descend from the children of Ashkenaz, and they're just not us. They're just pretending to be us. It's a question of identity theft. But these things, when you actually look deeply into this book, and not from a religious standpoint, from a historical one, right, you find that it's telling you what's really going on and who's who.
Yeah, I mean, I've done a little research with it, but the Bible say that the progenitor of black people is Ham.
No, progenitor of the darker races, not the Negroes.
So I thought the Negroes were the darker races.
But okay, it can't be, because it in that description it tells you he's the progenitor of the darker races. Yeah, it doesn't say dark races; it says darker races. Yeah, it goes on to say the Egyptians, the Canaanites, the Libyans, the Ethiopians, not the Negroes. We are the Negroes.
But the Bible doesn't have the word Negro in it, does it?
No, but the Zondervan Bible Dictionary does.
But see, when you get into that, people say that we were the children of Ham because that's what those Hebrew Israelites teach. And a lot of more biblical centered blacks teach that we come from Ham because the Bible said. Now, that's my thing with the Bible is that so many people gonna disagree with one book, and there's so many different denominations, and like you have one way of interpreting it, but I can get another Moorish brother on here, and y'all two will be disagreeing.
I'm not interpreting the Bible. I'm telling you what it actually says. Now, when these people say, "Oh yeah, it's this and it's that," well, they say that because they're ignoring certain parts that says the opposite. You know, I'm not. Okay, I approached this without a horse in the race. Yeah, I didn't have a horse in this race. I started looking at this book. I didn't know about Hebrew Israelites. You know, I didn't know that my ancestors were these people. I just started looking at this book because it was apparently a flat earth book. But when I started researching what it actually was saying, there was no other conclusion. There is no other conclusion. Again, you can ask a whole bunch of people and they will do something called proof texting. That is, they'll take one little verse or part of a verse in isolation and say, look, it says it right there. But if you look at the verse in context, looking before and after, and reading as if you were reading a book, yeah, then it tells you something completely different. And it shoots them out of the water when they, you know, especially Christians who say, well, the Old Testament, our book, absolutely gives you proof of this Jesus character. Well, you can take any one of their proofs, so-called proofs, read it, you know, and find it talks about somebody else, not a Jesus character. Yeah. So no, it's not about interpretation as far as I'm concerned. It's about actually reading it. An example is, you know, a Christian will look at a particular verse and it will say, you know, he was pierced in the side and he was afflicted and blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, okay, that sounds kind of Jesus-like, but it says he. So in order to find out who he is, you have to go back in the chapter to find the first time where it says he, and then see who he is referring to. And you go back and you go back and you go back, and it will say the children of Israel, and then he. And you find out that no, it's not talking about Jesus, it's talking about the children of Israel, personified as he.
Now,
and this is one of the...
I want to share something with you. And I never shared this with nobody. And I feel embarrassed, but I'm going to share it with you now. For the past year, Dave, I've been falling asleep. And an angel been coming to me, giving me words to write. I've been putting them down in my little journal. And now when I read them back, they're telling me that everything we believe is a lie. And I know the true name of God. So before I die, guess what? I'm going to put this book out. I can't give too much information on it because the angel told me not to speak about it all right now. Now, that's all I'm going to say. I know y'all going to think I'm crazy, but what about you? You think I'm crazy, bro?
I don't think you're crazy. You know, it would depend on what you have to say about it, but you know, but I don't think you're crazy because I've had, since I started on urine therapy, my intuition has gone through the roof and things come to me, and you know, I think, well, that can't be right. That can't be right. And I start looking into it, and all of a sudden I find, yes, it's right. Information starts coming to me to confirm what has come into my mind. And I think that too is one of our gifts. Okay, it's the way our minds work. There's another population of people who have a sequential logical pattern recognition type of mind. That's not our mind. Our mind is a creative a creative intelligence.
You know,
Yeah.
I wanted to let you know I was just joking about the angel coming to me. I just put that out there because that's how the Bible was created. Somebody said I'm dropping traps. They know how I do it. That's right. There's these XI. I love building with Dave because Dave, he ain't like a lot of biblical centered people. Like he said, he come with his own perspective that I think I would like a lot of Christians to hear, challenge him on, and build with him on. In the future, I would love to get me, Dave Moore, Subtle Infinity, and Flat Out Elected on one panel. I think that'll be powerful. These good panels come in my head, and I think that'll be a good one. So I'm going to try to make that happen, Dave, but I'm going to continue with this. Dave, I just can't believe that a man walked on water. I can't believe that, you know, a lot of things in the Bible, for example, the book of Revelation, where fire's gonna drop from the heaven and the dragon gonna raise up out the water. I don't believe it. I don't believe in monsters. I don't believe in falling fire. I don't believe none of that stuff. No different than Santa Claus. Now, am I wrong? And afterwards, I'm gonna hit you with some chat questions.
Okay. Well, you're not wrong, because you might have noticed I've just been talking about the Book of Remembrance, the Old Testament. Yeah. I'm saying that the New Testament, the so-called New Testament, is fake. It's fraudulent. It was created by Romans and Greco-Romans. Yeah, it was. It was. Okay, the Book of Remembrance was renamed by the Romans the Old Testament so that they could bring in the New Testament and attach it to our book and pretend like it's one book. Realize the word testament means statement of truth. Yeah, just you try, in a murder trial, entering a new statement of truth that contradicts the first one, and see how far that will get you. Yeah, it doesn't. It's a bunch of lies. The way I see it is the New Testament was written by the elite now, the so-called elite now. Yeah. Or their ancestors, and it's their roadmap of what they want to happen. The Old Testament, the Book of Remembrance, is the Most High's roadmap of what will come to pass. But the so-called New Testament is what the elite are trying to bring forth. Yeah, there is no concept of heaven. As far as a place for us to go, there is no concept of hell. All those are New Testament creations designed to keep you frightened and keep you, worshipping their fake god. So yeah, you're right to look at that and think it's crazy. When I was reading the book from beginning to end, it was obvious. It was like if you watched a series like Lost on TV, yeah, and you're watching like 6 seasons of Lost, and you're getting into it, and you're understanding how it works, and you've got your own theories about how it goes and everything, and then you get like to the 7th season, the 7th and last season, and it's got like a brand new writer who doesn't understand the whole series, and then introduces a new character and tries to twist it to make it look like the whole series has been about this new character. Yeah, and it doesn't work. Yeah, that's what it felt like when I read, the whole Bible from back to front. I got to the end of Malachi, and then it was the 7th season, and it was like, no, it just goes against everything that I'd read in the first 6 seasons. That makes sense.
Yeah, I know. It's like you said, a Bible kind of have to be decoded, and a lot of people say the Bible is the Word of God, and I go back to one point that you say the Bible has been changed, and I wonder if the Word of God can be changed, and I wonder if the Word of God is limited to one language, because when I read the Bible, it kind of sounds like I'm talking to like kind of a European guy, kind of like with your accent, kind of like a Shakespearean, like, behold, thou art worthy. And that's a particular culture speaking that, because not everyone talks that way. So why does this God sounds like he's from mid-English Shakespeare? You know, like, who's he talking to? Because, you know, you know what I mean?
Whenever we go into captivity, whenever we've gone into captivity, the very first thing they do is make us learn their language. That's it. Yeah. When we went into Babylonian captivity, we had to learn Babylonian. When we went into Egyptian captivity, we had to learn Egyptian. Yeah. It's all been about removing us from our original language. And that's actually my latest research. I'm researching language right now, and that's a really fascinating story, because the English language isn't a real language. It's a programming language. Yeah. The more you look into it, the more you find it's a programming language. It's backwards, one thing. Yeah. Our language reads from right to left, and English reads from left to right. It's backwards. Okay. And language isn't about it's about sound and frequency. Yeah. And when you use the right frequencies, you affect the world around you. Okay. But if you reverse those frequencies, well, then you don't have the same effect. So actually, sometimes you have the opposite effect of what you intend. And that's it. We've been given our book in a language that removes the power and removes the meaning largely from it, but the meaning's still there, and we can still get it, because language doesn't work the way we think it does. Yeah, we make small mouth noises, but we're not getting information through these small mouth noises. Yeah, so as I said, the information's still there, and we're still getting it. So it doesn't matter what language it's in per se. The word is the word.
I hear you. Oh man. Let me give some shout outs real quick. I just checked my email. Let me give a big shout out to Darren. Darren donated $100 to the GoFundMe. Shout out to you, Darren Anderson. Say, I love your work, brother Sanchez. I appreciate that, my brother. Oh man, yeah, man, I'm gonna have to really try to give back, man, and I'm gonna get this website on up. We reached over half of the goal. It was just 500. We're over half of that, and that's thanks to Sister Divine Will Sashat and everyone else who donated to the GoFundMe. What I will do at this time, thank you for being patient, Dave. I'm gonna go ahead and shout everybody out, because you guys, man, I really appreciate this. And we're going to have this website up real soon. It's going to be a one-stop shop. I'm also working on a big presentation I'm going to give out for free. That's going to be, that ain't going to be on YouTube. It's going to be like a movie. Going to give out that first one for free. And I just want to say shout out to Shantoria Jackson as well. Nicole Soldner. And some more people were anonymous donors, but Alfredo Valencia, Randy Long, Andrea Dixon, and anybody that I'm leaving out, email me and let me know. But I really appreciate y'all. And at this time, what me and Dave will do, we'll go back to the comment section, and we're gonna deal with some comments at this time. But before I do that, let me let IPS know that I'll be ready around 1:30. So thank y'all for tuning in again. Let me go ahead and send him that email. Dave, this is a good one. The people loving this, and up until the Vegas meetup that we're doing, we can do more of these as well as afterwards. everybody out there, get in the description area, join the group Flat Earth West on Facebook. If you are a flat earther and you are in the western part of the USA, it is a closed group. This is a group for all flat earthers on the West Coast to meet up, plan, share experiments. This was an idea from D Marble. So shout out to D Marble, suggested that we all make regional groups so that we can meet up. And me and Dave will be using this group to plan a meetup here in September. He'll be in Las Vegas, and we're going to be doing he's going to be doing a presentation. So if you on the West Coast and you ain't far from Vegas, this is going to be a good time to make it a meetup and come on out. We're going to be at the nice park and all of that. So again, even if you can't make it, go ahead and join the group, because, hey, keep updated on all of the events. We're going to keep this thing going, and at this time, I'm going to get in the comment section and see what kind of questions and everything that we got. Yeah, oh yeah, shout out D Marble, yeah, for that idea. As soon as you said it, I went and started the group, because I had a meetup here on Eclipse Day and we had like 3 people out there, and it could have been more than that, because afterwards people was like, man, I'm in Vegas. And I'm like, you know what? That's a good idea. Start that group so I can see who we got on the west part of the USA, so that me, and I think D Marble is on the west as well. So yeah, I need to make you an admin in that group, D Marble. So go ahead and put it out there for you people with the big channels and who do a lot of events and stuff. The group is going to grow, but I need more admins, especially you, D Marble, because you always bringing the people together. So we're going to continue this, man. I want to thank Dave Moor again. Hey, that would be awesome too, to have a build between you two guys. I don't know if you're familiar with D Marble's work, but he's making a lot of noise in the flat earth community, Dave.
I've seen some of his work. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, man. I don't know if D Marble saw some of your earlier work, because Dave is a legend with this thing too. My favorite joint is that Late Night with Malenko, man. That's a classic right there. But let me say, let's get back on this biblical subject. We have some good questions. I didn't get all the questions. I'm not going to scroll back up the chat. So just retype your questions out there, and I won't miss them this time. So the questions I did get, somebody said, my grandpa said you don't need church or the Bible to find God. Do you need the Bible? Do you need church, Dave, to find God?
You definitely do not need church. You have church, but and he's actually right. You don't need the Bible as such, because the commandments, the law, statutes, and commandments are written on our hearts anyway. We know we shouldn't kill, we shouldn't steal, we shouldn't lie to people, blah, blah, blah. There are animals we shouldn't be eating. Yeah, if you really, really thought about it, there's some of the animals that we're eating we shouldn't be eating. We know we shouldn't be eating. Yeah, there are things that we shouldn't be doing, and they're all written in that, and we should know them. We do know them. So yeah, you can go without it, but in this day and age where we've been indoctrinated in a system that legalizes all of the commandments, yeah, I think it's a pretty good idea to have a little brush up on what those commandments and what those laws are. So yeah, it's right, and in a way it's wrong as well.
Okay, so before the Bible, what did people do to know God, and how was the world when people didn't have a concept of the Bible at all?
Well, in those days, we as a people knew the Creator. We had a direct line of communication with the Creator. Yeah, we kept messing up though. We kept going along with the nations around us and starting to do the things that they did. When our God, I don't like saying that word, our Most High, basically told us, no, don't do that. Don't follow these festivals and do these practices and sacrifice your children to big stone owls and things like that. But we kept doing that, and so we kept getting punished.
Okay, let me ask you another question. My sister Inquisitive Bonnie says, can you please ask Dave's thoughts or perspectives on the 144,000?
144,000. Well, I believe that has been given an interpretation in the New Testament, but and I'm a little hazy on this, but I think that comes out of a number of people who are chosen from each of the 12 tribes. But I'm a bit hazy on this. I'd like to say I'm an expert in all this. I'm not. I'm just somebody who's been reading all this a lot and getting the big picture. So there's a lot that I don't know off by heart, and I'd have to look up and come back to you on. That's one of them, I'm afraid. I know there is a significance in the Book of Remembrance about 144,000, but I also know it's not the interpretation that's given in the New Testament.
That's deep. I got my own little beliefs and speculations on the 144,000. Maybe I'll do a video on it one day. But I'm going to say to y'all, great questions out there. Keep them coming. I think Black Sun is asking the two sons. They're talking about another conversation. Do you think the Vatican removed the Apocrypha and other canonized books from the King James Version? If so, then why? Shout out to QT.
Well, they removed those books because essentially they give away too much of the story. Yeah, without the Book of Enoch, without the Book of Enoch, the Book of Jasher and Jubilees, the story in Genesis 6 essentially is only like 1 or 2 lines saying about how the sons of God came down and had sex with the children of the women of it's not women of anybody, but they had sex with women, and that's only 1 line. And there's been a lot of interpretation of that 1 line from Christianity and and other religions that say, it's a wicked sons of Cain had sex with the daughters of Seth and all that. But when you look at the Book of Enoch and the Book of Jubilees and Jasher, it tells you in detail. No, it was angels. They came down and they had sex with women, and their offspring were completely different to all the rest of the humans. So yeah, those books were taken out so that you don't know the full story, and then they can give you an alternate version that you can believe in. When you put them back, you get a completely different story, a lot darker and a lot more dangerous story. And the books of the Apocrypha basically also give you a bit more historical background, and it also tells you about who certain people were. For instance, there's a book in the Old Testament called Esther, and in the Apocrypha, there's the rest of Esther. And the rest of Esther actually tells you who the bad guy was, what nation he was, what people he was. And that's incriminating evidence. So this bunch of Romans, sat around and decided which books they were going to let in. And all of a sudden, we're supposed to believe that, these Romans, who, by the way, the Most High never ever spoke to, somehow these Romans have the authority to say which books we're allowed to read and which we shouldn't. It's not. It's rubbish. It's bullshit.
Okay. Let me ask you something real quick. I got so many for you. They got good questions, Dave. Someone want to know, what do you think about Santos Bonacci's view on the Bible? You don't have to answer that if you want to, if you don't want to, because that's kind of a hard one. I can see how that can be kind of hard.
Okay, I will answer it. You know, I know Santos. I've met him at least once. Well, yeah, just once. We spent quite a lot of time together. You know, I like the bloke and everything. I do not agree with what he says. First of all, astronomy and astrology, they were a couple of things that were taught by the fallen angels. They were taught us. They were sinful things that we weren't supposed to know about. And so a lot of the interpretations that Santos comes up with, I mean, I'm afraid I can't agree with. But you know, it's great if he wants to believe what he wants to believe. That's fine. You know, I'm not gonna knock anybody for their beliefs. But you know, I can't go along with a lot of them.
And let me just say, I respect both of you, and I take teachings from both of you, and a lot of things I disagree from both of you, a lot of things I agree with you. But I know that you two got respect for each other despite the disagreements. So, but what I'll say is I would love to see you guys maybe do a bill. The Bible is a big subject in the flat earth community. And man, it opens a lot of cans of worms. Let me ask you something to hop off the Bible for a minute. We'll hop back to it. What do you think about this past eclipse that we just had? Because it sure in hell wasn't the moon that passed in front of the sun. What is your interpretation of this past eclipse?
Well, the thing about me and looking at flat Earth topics is I don't like to speculate too much about things that I can never know. Yeah, none of us can know if for sure unless some really strong evidence comes up. None of us can know for sure if it's the moon that was there or if it was something else. Yeah, we don't know. Yeah, unless somebody actually comes with something hard and tangible, there's no way of knowing. So I can guess it's something called Rahu, or I think it could be Nibiru coming in. I don't know. Yeah, but I'm not going to speculate on it.
Yeah.
All I know is something.
I'm sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just saying. All I know is something occluded the light from the sun. It's likely to be the moon. It's very likely to be the moon. But what I do know is that the 70-mile across shadow that was cast could not be cast by something 2,000 miles wide. Yeah, so the only thing I can take away from that is that it's not a moon that's 238,000 miles away and 2,000 miles wide. You know, it's definitely something a lot closer and a lot smaller that casts that shadow.
Well, it definitely was a revealing moment for the flat earth community because for that event allowed us to convert a lot of globalists. There was a lot of globalists, if not anything, they became in the middle. They might not have came flat earthers, but they said, hey, some ain't right. So that eclipse, you know, like it always do, it get the people questioning and thinking about the creation, which would get us back connected to the Creator. That's one thing. That's one thing that I like to argue too, and I'm gonna let you build. I think that understanding the creation helps us get in contact and closer to the Creator.
Yeah, I think so too. The other thing, the biblical thing that comes out of the eclipse is that the luminaries and the stars and and the planets, I guess, which are wandering stars, they're there for signs and seasons. That's what the Book of Remembrance says. They're put there for signs and seasons. Well, we know the seasons. We know we're quite familiar with all the seasons, but I would say that the eclipse was a big sign. Right? It was a big sign intended for one people, okay, one group of people on this plane, and it's no accident, I don't think, that you had this incredible sign in the sky, yeah, that went right across one country from coast to coast, splitting the country in half, which was visible, at least partially, by everybody in the country. Yeah, it's a sign. It might sound, all superstitious and stuff, but we're in an age where all our superstitions or all our views of anything supernatural are explained away by science. So we've got a very cynical eye. But if you hadn't grown up in this society, watching television and reading books and what have you, and you saw the sun go dark in the middle of the day, yeah, that's a sign of something. Yeah. And that's the way, in the Bible, things work. We're given signs. And, I'm saying that, people of America better pay attention because, things are gonna start happening there, and they've been warned. That's why I see it.
That's a good way to look at it. Hey, shout out to Bulldog Fishmaster. He says, ask Dave if he believes in an afterlife, heaven, and how we get there. Do you believe in an afterlife / heaven, and how do we get there?
Well, I don't believe in this afterlife and heaven as it's written in the New Testament. The way I see it is this flat Earth plane is essentially a bubble of space and 3D space and time. Yeah, within this bubble we have time that passes and we have 3 dimensions to move around in. Okay, there is no outside of this place because an outside would indicate space, more space, but there isn't. There's only space here. And outside, because we lack the words in our vocabulary for this, but outside of this, there is no space, there is no time. So when you arrive here from outside of here, it's the same time as you leave here. So there is no afterlife, because afterlife kind of, assumes time passing and space that you move around in that time. But there isn't. So no, there is no classical afterlife heaven to go to. But it does say, if you were to believe Ezekiel 37, that on the day of vengeance, which I guess is coming up, that day of vengeance, the Israelites who have been slain over the centuries, will actually come back to life, will be brought back, and they'll be looking for vengeance. So you imagine all those people who were lynched, all those people who were raped and murdered and treated horribly, coming back, looking for vengeance on the people that did that to them. I don't think I'd want to be those people. And it says that in Ezekiel 37.
So you think there is vengeance to be sought?
Well, I think the American government believes so, because if you look at what's happened in the news lately, the DHS and a few of the other alphabet soups have bought 1.2 billion rounds of hollow point ammunition. Right, hollow point ammunition. Well, it's not like a regular bullet. It doesn't go through you. It explodes when it goes into you. It explodes and literally destroys everything. Think about that. Hollow point bullets are really there to try and kill something that can't be killed. And then you look at some of the drills that the army have been doing, and they've been drilling about killing zombies. Did you catch that? About all these drills of soldiers shooting at people made up to look like zombies. So it looks like the American government are taking it seriously that at some point these things are going to come back to life and can't be killed. So they're taking precautions.
Hey, let me just say to the people in the chat, I am getting round to your questions as well. The next one was, can you explain the Most High? This is from Mika Meek. It says, explain the Most High.
Explain him. I think I'm going to need a bit more information on that one.
Okay, well, we can move to the next one. I got a couple of them. Someone wants to know, how can one family make all the races on earth? Because that's what would have to happen according to the Bible.
Okay, one family with 3 children. Well, I mean, you can see that happening on some islands in this on this world. That you start with a group of people, a small group of people, and within several generations, you've got a huge population. Yeah, it happens right now. I think there was also some research, and I can't remember who did it. It might have been, I think Rob Skiba talked about it, but there was research that somebody traced back the population of humanity now and sort of back engineered it, and it worked out that it would be right if you started off with 8 people and let to the present day, you'd have something around 7 billion people. So yeah, I'm not surprised that it works out like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like one of those ones where I gotta trust the government again to prove it. Just like they just put this special out on Netflix, and they're proving that the flood was real by using the Grand Canyon, and it's laughable. It's like, why are they making? Okay, if the flood was real or not, they're clearly reaching with this one. And it's like they got this huge agenda to make the Bible real. Why does the government want this book, And this is the thing, because all of the stuff that we say prophetic, the events that happen in the Bible, they all come to be because of the powers who given us the Bible. That's why I say it's hard to determine whether it's prophecy or planning. But I'm gonna let you build on that, and I'm still getting questions for you.
Okay, well, yeah, as I said, the elite have their own Bible, as it were. It's the New Testament, and they are actively trying to make it happen. The mark of the beast and all that. Yeah, they're and Revelation as well. They're trying to make what they've written in their book come to pass. But our book is a book of prophecy and and complete history from beginning to end. What is written in that book will come to pass, because as I said, it's like dictated from somebody who's beyond this bubble of space and time. So as far as he's concerned, our story is like a book. It's already been written. We have to plod through it a page at a time. But from the Most High's perspective, it's already been done. It's already been and done and dusted and bound and everything. So yeah, he's been very kindly been giving us little hints about what's happening at the end of the book, and he does that in Genesis in the beginning of the book.
Yeah, but see, and that's another thing too. When you brother asks, how did 2 people create everyone we see on the world today? If we say they come from Adam and Eve, but then we would have to say no, they come from Noah, because Noah repopulated the earth. It was a reset. But Noah and his family, according to biblical scholars and theologians, they were European. And then the question would be, did 2 Europeans, all right, because when you deal with Adam and Eve, you deal with Noah, we're talking Europeans, did they give birth to Chinese people, Jamaicans, black, all of these diversities, Koreans, Indonesians, India, for just two? in the Noah's Ark? It was two of
No.
everything.
Well, you know what? The only problem with that idea is that two white people can only make another white person. That's it. They can only make another white person. Two black people can make any shade possible. Yeah. But two white people can only create another white person. That's the same as the difference between a Caucasian and an albino. Yeah, an albino is still a black person. Yeah, they've got no melanin, but they're still a black person. So they will have black children. Yeah, but again, two white people will have a white child. They're not albinos, and so yeah, it's that story that we all come from white people is rubbish. You know, and it wasn't white people who populated the earth. There were actually very few. One of the pieces of research I found was an essay by Benjamin Franklin, and when you read this essay, it tells you that there were very, very few white people in the world in 1755. There was very few. He lists that there was only a group of people in Germany, there was people in England, and whoever was in the colonies in America. They were the only white people in the world at that time. So the stories that that white people were all over the Old Testament are rubbish. They only appear in very few places. I think there's only 3 different sources for it. Now you mentioned something about. You answered that question anyway. Sorry. So that's my answer anyway.
Okay. Everybody want to know real quick what you think about beyond the ice wall. Is there any other lands beyond the ice wall, and what you think about that?
Again, anything I can say is only speculation because none of us have been able to go there. I'd love to go there, but my personal view, my personal opinion is I like to go with the video or the footage that we've seen of Antarctica, showing warm water lakes and mountains free of ice and things like that. And connect that to Admiral Byrd, what he was saying about finding a whole continent the size of the continental US on the other side of the pole. So the way I see it is that we have the central dish, the central Earth that we're aware of. It goes on for 300-400 miles or so, and then there's more continents. And that's it, and all of that is enclosed in a dome. So we've been kept away from the other continents, and there may be others that live there. I don't know, but I think there's. I like to go with that model that Earth we're aware of, and beyond the ice wall, there's more land, more continents, and it's all encapsulated in a dome.
Now I can believe that too. We all have our beliefs, and that just goes back to this whole religion topic. But I'm gonna ask you something else too, because I got questions for you, but I don't want to bombard you. Someone wants to know, what do you think about Nazarite vow, or whatever that is? Shout out to Shaq D.
I have no idea what that is. Sorry.
All right, let me go to another question. Me neither, Dave. So someone said the oldest book that speaks about flat Earth is the Bible. I disagree with that. What about you, Dave?
I think the Bible's the only one, the oldest one I've seen anyway. That gives you definitive answers on it. It says it's a motionless plane. it's a circle inscribed on a face. Yeah. So I haven't. I mean, I've looked at some old books like the story of Gilgamesh, and you can pull some ideas that they're talking about flat Earth there. But you know what? The Bible was the one that, for me, that has so many sort of references to this cosmology.
And
I haven't seen anything older.
You're right, because the Bible is the book that was given to us. It's the most dominant book in our societies, being from where you're from and where I'm from. Because if me and you were born in the Middle East, everything you're saying now, you would be saying about the Quran. Over there, they think that there's more proof for flat earth in the Quran. In fact, they actually build their Muslim mosque like an enclosed dome. That's the Muslim mosque shaped like the cosmos. So they're making the same argument you're making, Dave, but they're saying, nope, hey, the Quran got it all, baby. And if you go to Asia, they have an old book called the Dhamma. And the Dhamma, as well as a lot of the Buddhist, Hindu cosmology, is flat earth to the T. So, they're saying the same thing. What I'm saying is, you making your claims, they making their claims, all of them are religious perspectives. They're saying the same thing, but telling you different sources. You may say Buddha, one may say Allah, one may say Jesus or Yahuwah. So what do you think about all of the different truths out there?
Right. Well, all religions were created by the same people. Yeah, they're all based on, or they all take their or make their basis our book, and they build on top of it, and then say, oh, it's all part of our religion. Yeah, but like the Quran. I mean, I was in some Hebrew Israelite group on Facebook, and somebody was saying, oh yeah, well, Muhammad is mentioned in the Bible, and he's the prophet that's within you. And okay, so that's them saying, oh yeah, well, that's where we hook into this book of truth. Okay, and that's the way all religions do it. The Christians have their holy book, which is the New Testament, and they hook it into our book and say, yes, see, it's true because it's part of this whole thing. The Quran again hooks into it, and the Mormons, they've got the Book of Mormon that hooks into the same book, and so on and so on and so on. What I'm saying is that when you find out that Paleo-Hebrew was the original language, it was the absolute original language on this earth, and all languages stem from that one language. And the reason you know that is because all languages west of Jerusalem read left to right. East of Jerusalem, we read right to left. All languages west are symbolic and abstract languages. All languages east of Jerusalem are pictographical and concrete languages. So you can see that it started off in Jerusalem and spread out from that place as if there was some event where all the languages got messed up and everybody went away from that place with a different language.
When you say...
hang on, I've got a book about that.
Hey, when you say it started off in Jerusalem, what do you mean started off in Jerusalem? And when you talk about the Tower of Babel story, that's not literal. There was never a time where everyone spoke the same tongue and we was cursed and it split up. That's a fairy tale. Like, I would have to believe that. Science can't prove it. And other people with other tongues will explain the origin of their languages totally different. For example, when you go to Sanskrit and when you go to these other countries, they got a 100,000-year history to their language that predates the Bible itself. And then the Bible come along 4,000 years ago saying that these people didn't get a language until God cursed them for building some tower to the sky. So
I would disagree. I have to disagree with that, because I had this very same argument with somebody who was saying, no, Sanskrit was predates.
No, I'm not
Paleo-Hebrew.
saying which predates which. I'm saying we can't prove that languages was given to the masses by a tower being built and a guy coming from the cloud saying, "Here, I'm gonna give each one their language this way." I'm saying we can't prove that. What we can prove is I talk to people of all languages and tongues, Dave, and they have a history to their language. When you talk to the Pygmies people, for example, they have a very old language. The Pygmies, listen, some of these languages of the Bushmen and the Tribalmen predate the word Bible itself. These are old people. And when you ask them where did their language originate from, they can show you proof of writings and cuneiform and symbols that evolved over hundreds of thousands of years to be these languages we see them still speak today. They won't say what I'm
How
saying.
can they be thousands of years old if there was one event, the flood, that reduced the population to 8?
Well, that's the thing. We have to re-question the flood. Is the flood real? Because this is what happens when you bring up the flood. And I'm talking to a person from the Amazonian bushes who've been living in the forest for years, untampered with, no Bible, no Quran, living with nature. They don't have a concept of a Noah's flood. They have different concepts of life. But what I'm going to say, and I'm going to shut up, is whatever concepts different people around the world have, if they say, hey, I don't believe in the Noah flood story, we have to consider their beliefs as well and see what they come up with and be interested in their outlook as well and weigh them up to see who's telling the right. We can't always say, well, mine's right and theirs wrong. And I know a lot of biblical people do the same thing that Muslims do. It's always about, well, mine was first, mine is the most right, mine is the way. And that's what I can't get with, because what I see is everybody telling the same truth with their different tongue, their own way of expressing it. So what I don't like about religion is saying, well, it has to come through this one way, because I think the Buddhist interpretation of reality is one of the most accurate when it comes to religion, me personally, you know. And I'm not a Buddhist or a Christian or a Muslim. I look into all of them.
Okay, well, first of all, I would say that, I had this argument with somebody who was talking about Sanskrit, and I showed them the early versions of Sanskrit. Okay, there's like, I think there's 3 versions of Sanskrit, and you can see the progression away from Paleo-Hebrew. In exactly the same way, you can see the progression from Paleo-Hebrew to English. Same way you can see the progression of Paleo-Hebrew into Arabic and into Chinese and into other languages. Yeah, you can see the progression. Okay. Now, as I said, with the flood reduced everything to 8 people. Now, there's virtually every culture has a flood story. Yeah, and when you start examining that story, you'll find that some of the names sound familiar. Like, I can't remember. I don't have any notes with me, but one culture, I think it's Chinese or Japanese, that says about somebody called Nuar, not Noah, but Nuar or something like that.
Yeah, I actually know exactly what you're talking about. I can actually go real deep into that if you want. I did extensive research on the goddess Nuar and the waters above. The flood story is linked to the creation of the cosmos, being that there's waters above and waters below that was separated. And one of the goddesses that did that, her name was Nuwa in ancient Asia. So back then, I'm glad you brought that up. There was no God concept. There was no dude that created creation. There was a goddess, and her name was Nuwa. And that was turned into Noah, and it also was turned into a city in New Jersey called Newark, New Jersey. Now, when you say they found Noah's Ark, I want to know if it's the same thing they found in Egypt. They found one of the oldest, actually the oldest boat on earth is in Egypt, and it's called the New Ark, and it belonged to one of the pharaohs. And this is the thing that came about when they was creating a Noah's Ark story, or they was writing this real history out of history. What do you think about that? Because there's a lot of teachers and scholars to support that the Bible is stolen from Kemet.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people who took banging on about this Kemet rubbish, I've got to say. Yeah, it's again, it's trying to get us into worshipping their dog-headed gods. Yeah.
Well, hold on. Well, I don't mean to cut you off, but no, it's not that. Actually, I'm gonna share my screen. I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about real quick, because I want you to. It's not that kind of comedicism. I know what you mean. Everything got a down version to it. I don't know. I know what you're talking about. Let me pull this up. Are you familiar with Ashra Kwesi?
No, I'm not.
Okay, let me show you something real quick. So you know about the story of Adam and Eve in the Bible, correct?
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
we can't prove this story in the Bible about a woman giving a man a apple and then him being cursed. We can't prove that. But if I asked a Christian to show me proof, they wouldn't be able to prove it. But what I can prove is that the story of Adam, Eve, and the concept of it is not original. And it didn't start in the Bible. It was stolen from Kemet and put into the Bible. I'm going to prove that at this time. So, Dave, what I'm doing now is sharing the screen. I'm going to hide the chat for a minute because I want everybody to see what I got here. Hold up a minute, guys. Let me get this right, because it's time to get into some knowledge today now. And I want to hear Dave's input on this, because this is important stuff. We can't just write this out of history. Here is the true story of Adam and Eve. Now, these stones predate the Bible. These pyramids predate any religious text. And here we see the woman on the left giving the man the apple from the tree of life. Later on, we see the Europeans of the Bible, when the Gutenberg printing press came, and others, that the story, even the Ptolemies were the first to corrupt this story. And ever since then, we was hearing about Adam and Eve giving Adam an apple, but we don't know about this real story right here of Ramses. So we don't talk about this one because of what Dave just did. They've been teaching us that we don't want to believe in them dog-headed gods and all of that in Egypt to quit, so we don't look over there and get this history. They got the pyramid on the back of their dollar for a reason, because those pyramids hold the secrets to all of their plagiarization. They copied everything basically from Kemet. So what you see here is the real story of what happened in the garden. And it had nothing to do with the woman being cursed. The fruit symbolized knowledge, particularly the apple. That's why we give teachers apples today. And if you look at the computer company, the apple, it's an apple that's bitten. But they cursed that in the Bible. They cursed the woman. They cursed this story. So I don't know. I would tell you, Dave, Moor, because I follow your teachings and I admire your work. And I also admire the great master teacher, Ashra Kwesi, who does yearly tours to Kemet, and he deal with this stuff. I would ask of you to explore his work. Email me. I'm going to give you a playlist full of stuff you can look at on this, Dave, and we'll get back and have more of these discussions. I think that you need to understand maybe the Egyptian connection to the Bible, because it even says in the Bible that Moses, who was the father of Christianity, that he was learned in all the ways of the Egyptians. So the Bible has a Kemet origin that's not being taught. And obviously I can go on and on with this, but I want to be brief. So even though you can't find Moses' body in the Bible, no Christian can produce his body, I can go to Egypt and show you Pharaoh Tutmosis' tomb, and his mummy is still in there. So there was a real Moses who come from Kemet, and it wasn't the one that the Bible told us. So they redid history to make it suit this new biblical ideology, and I'm gonna fall back on that.
Where do you think the word Kemet comes from?
The word Kemet is a European word that comes from the ancient word KMT, which is something we can't even pronounce today because the ancients didn't have vowels. So it would have came from the back of the throat. I don't want to try to do it and embarrass myself, but chem is the root word of chemistry. And it's the root word of chemistry, the root word of alchemy. In China, you have the common name Kim. My girl middle name is Kim. The Asians use it a lot. And it's this same word, and it means darkness. This is the dark matter that they speak of in heliocentrism, but they took the face off of it. The face of it was Neith in Kemet. It was a goddess. It became Nut in the flat earth cosmology, but they took that away and just gave you dark matter. Just like they took away this woman greatness of giving that man that apple, helping him out in Kemet. It showed you the balance of the man and woman and how the woman helped the man. But when we get the Bible, it say how the woman is a dummy who was disobedient. She the problem for everything wrong. And I don't agree with that. I agree with the Kemetic version because it's the oldest one and it shows the balance of them both. It doesn't blame anybody and it makes perfect sense to restore balance.
Right. Well, first of all, the word Kemet comes from the word in Paleo Hebrew, Chem, okay, which is the name of Ham. Okay, so it's the word Ham. We call it Ham. The word is actually Chem. Okay, and that is Ham is the one the father of the darker races, who was given that area of Africa as his inheritance. Yeah, the name of Egypt is a Greek word, I believe, but its real name was Mizraim, which was Ham's first son. So if you're trying to say that this all predates the Bible, well then the name of the place came from somebody in the Bible.
No, it did not. Hold on, but I just want to clear that up. It did not. When this story was carved in the wall, there was no Bible. The people the Ptolemies came and invaded Egypt. This is real history I'm giving you. You can look it up. They came and told the black people that they are the progenitors of Ham. We're not no progenitors of Ham, and Ham didn't have to inherit the land from nobody because who was in power to make who he was going to inherit it from? We was already in power. There was already a law on the land already prior to the Ptolemies coming. Dave, that's all I'm telling you, to research what Osh requested teaching, because he's got years of scholarship in this and he have doctorates and all of that. He blew the lids off this story, brother. And I really want you to look into this before because you brought up Nuwa, and people that follow me know I tied this into Nuwa. The Hebrews who you speak of had flat earth cosmology. They had waters above and waters below. But the Kemetics had it with Nut and Geb. They had waters above, and they talked about the stream theory that scientists just talking about. That's what Neith was. So when you talk about Genesis, the root word of Genesis is genie. The genie was the Nagini. You can see that was the serpent that was cursed in the Bible, but that was revered in the ancient world. The serpent is on the head of the Pharaoh. It got a snake there symbolizing the third eye, the intellect. So the Nagini, it was a revered in the ancient world. It was cursed in the Bible. It's still the medical symbol today. So all I'm saying is when you talk about Egypt and the meaning of it, you're giving us the meaning from someone's biased perspective. But if you go over there and ask those people the meaning of their word, it'll be different. So what I'm saying is, if you ask, for example, the Indians the meaning of who they are and their name, they won't even tell you Indian. So different people define different people their own ways. That's why it's important to see how those people define themselves. And what you will find out is that the etymology of the word Egypt really comes from the word gypsy. Because
it's the other way around.
The word Egypt and gypsy are basically synonymous. And you can still see this when you go to even India today. They have what you call cobra gypsies. And the cobra gypsies are ladies who have spiritual abilities such as snake charming. They can put a snake in a basket and they can mimic their hands just like the movements of the snake, and they can seduce the snake. So these gypsies were spiritual people, but they was written out of the Bible to say that they would come from some homosexual progenitor called Ham, because you only get one perspective. That's why I said go look at Ashraquesi, and you will see that these snake people or snake charmers were the serpent people, and that these people revered the serpent. They didn't curse it like the people who gave us the Bible. So the serpent holds the key to our balance, because that's at the center of the yin yang, which is the oldest religious symbol on earth. You know, so this goes very deeper than a biblical perspective. And what happens when people are biblical based, they don't investigate the Bible outside of the Bible. So I can't expand the conversation with them. That's why I'm encouraging you, Dave, to go to Ashraquesi, because with all the knowledge you have, you can actually expand it by investigating the Bible from a non-biased standpoint as a non-believer, as an investigator.
Now, please, please understand that I have not come at this as a Bible person. I've not come at this as from a religious perspective. Yeah. When I researched this, I was researching not only what the Bible was saying, but I was looking at physical things in the world, yeah, to show me what this Bible was talking about, yeah. So some things that you can't hide, no matter what you do, you can't hide place names. You can rename a place, yeah, if as all you want, but the original name does not die. So you can find out a lot about what's really going on by looking at place names, names of peoples, and when you look at Paleo-Hebrew, you find that language is the basis of pretty much every language, and you can find the correlations. Even those languages that you say are hundreds of thousands of years old, yeah, which they're not. Okay, you find that they have a root in Paleo-Hebrew. You know, the Bantu languages, especially, they're almost straight Paleo-Hebrew. There's so much you were saying that I've just got too many things that I could sort of go off on here, but I know when I was looking at language, this is going into my language research now, but I'm looking into languages, and I asked the question, and this is going to be a bit out there for a lot of people. I asked the question, how is it that we're the only creature on this world that come into this world not knowing how to communicate to anything or anyone? Yeah, I mean, cats know how to meow to his parents, dogs know how to bark, birds know how to sing. We don't know how to speak our language. Yeah. When I asked that question, information started coming to me. One of these pieces of information was an experiment that was done in the 1500s, where a Scottish king marooned a deaf and dumb woman on an island with 2 newborn babies. Okay, and he left them there for years. Came back when these 2 boys were grown up to see if these 2 boys who were brought up in silence, if they could speak a language. Now, the results of this experiment were suppressed, or they've gone. But the people who lived in that area said overwhelmingly that these 2 children could speak perfect Hebrew. Now, this being in the 15th century, this is before Yiddish had taken off Yeah, they were talking about Paleo-Hebrew. Okay, that is the original language, because that is the language we come into this world speaking. Okay, I know it sounds crazy, but think about it. The word for the first word that most babies say is the word for mother, mama. Yeah, in Paleo-Hebrew, the word for mother is amma. Okay, the word for
But
father.
can I stop you? See, when you say the word mama is amma, that the word amma didn't come from Paleo Hebrew. Even the Europeans who are Paleo Hebrew would tell you that the Dogon tribe is one of the oldest people on earth, and they had a concept called amma before anybody did, and I can show it to you right now. They still worship amma, which leads to another part of the discussion I wanted to get. See, the biblical perspective you're giving me, I'm familiar with. But what I'm going to is something that predates it. And you have to understand that these biblical scholars is going to tell you that because they're against the ancient people. Shout out to Tesla's Truth. Thank you for the donation. He says crafted languages. Let me plug in this real quick. I got some information I'm pulling up, Dave. I want to share it with you because I want to give you another perspective besides your own. I know it's going to be different and contrary to yours, and I understand how that can be. Don't be, offended. Hear this perspective, see the validity of it, comprehend it, and just understand the ancient side of all of these biblical stories. And what I'm going to do, Dave, because I'm glad I have you on, maybe if you can help me with this, I can see the Bible different, maybe from your perspective. But until you do that, I have nothing else to go by but what the ancients say. So earlier you brought up Noah, you brought up Noah, and we talked about the waters above, and we brought up the ark. And I want to let you know that this is not a biblical this is not
I didn't just bring up Noah. I was just what I was saying.
No, I know we brought it up all of that, but I'm saying no. I know what we brought up. What I'm doing, Dave, is I'm tying it all together. Right now, what I'm finna do is share the Egyptian flood story. When you said that everybody had a flood story, I wrote it down and I never did get to it to touch on that. Everybody still got a flood story, but they don't teach that it happened. They teach that it happens every year. For example, in India, they have a flood that they depend on yearly for their economy. If this flood don't happen, their economy will crash, as well as I think more than half of the world economy that depends on this flood as well. There's parts of the earth that still to this day, like they always done, depended on their land flooding for fertility. They have festivals. They build their houses on stilts because they know the flood coming every year, and they have gardens up under the house and gardens, around their house to take advantage of it. They also have boats outside their houses. And if you come to their house when the flood is not there, you'll be like, man, why the hell is there a boat just sitting here in the middle of the desert? Well, there's a certain time of the year when the land flood and they're able to get on them boats. They still do it today. But those yearly flood stories got turned into one holy flood story in the Bible. And this Noah's Ark is just a cartoon. It's a cartoon. The real ark is in Egypt. And I'm going to pull it up right now. And I'm pulling this up not to argue, but to help me, man, because I want to see the Bible how you see it. But until you see this, you won't know what changed my mind. So this is the oldest man-made vessel on earth right here. There's nothing on earth older than this. Facts. And this is called the New Ark. And this is in Kemet. This predates Noah's Ark. So when you brought up Noah, here she is right here. She's come from Asia. Her name is the serpent goddess as well. This was the goddess that they cursed in the Bible. You can see she got the serpent tail. She the one wrapped around the tree giving the balance, who created man and woman in the garden like you see on this picture. This is Chinese mythology. They spoke about Noah, and that became New Ark and Noah's Ark Because what the ancestors taught, Dave, was that when we die, just like we have a yearly flood and we can sail those waters in the land, they taught when we die, we also sail upon Nu. Nu is the goddess in Egyptian cosmology, who represents what the goddess Nuwa represented in Chinese mythology. It was the goddess of the waters above. It was said that she created us from those waters above that your Bible speak about. But only this is older than your Bible. So when they speak about Noah's Ark in the Bible, this is ancient stuff that's been happening in Kemet, still happening in India. They have a flood every year. And also the ancestors said we take a ark upon the waters above for our celestial journey after death. So they said we would sail those waters above in our celestial ark. And some people even said that the ancestors would astral project and meditate, and in another realm they would actually create physical arcs. So when this body die, they would actually have stuff that they created in this realm and kind of manipulate matter, taking it through time and space, so to speak. So the stuff go deep than just the biblical perspective, the Quran perspective, the Dharma perspective, all of these world religions. It go to the ancient people. What I'm showing you is everyone had this, Dave, about this new ark and Noah's ark, about these waters above. It just didn't happen in the Bible. Even though I can see your biblical perspective, I just want you to consider these and maybe tie them together so we can get more clarity and we can actually, further this research together, brother.
Right. Well, that's very interesting and all that, but perhaps you can explain to me if this flood was a local phenomenon which happened every year. Perhaps you can explain to me how there's found seashells on Mount Everest.
Okay, let me explain. That's because America was more covered by water than it is today, according to some studies. I live on
What's it got to do with America?
I said America, my bad. What I'm telling you is this. There's places on Earth today that's high above sea level that was once below sea level. Just like we could go under the ocean today and see cities that was once above sea level completely sunk hundreds of feet deep, and scientists don't know how they got there. That's because the water on the earth have been changing. Just like there's yearly floods, just like there's moon phases that happen, and then there's a bigger scale of eclipse that happen once every couple of years. I think the same thing happened. There's yearly floods, then there's a great flood that happened. So yeah, I'm just answering you. You asked how I got plenty more theories too on how that can happen.
I understand, right? But you just said, right, that the waters have changed, and this place would have been underwater. But Mount Everest is the highest place on Earth. Okay. So if you're saying that the water covered it at one time, that means the water somehow got higher than anywhere else on Earth. Yeah? So that seashells could be found on top of Mount Everest.
That's exactly what I'm saying is that could what I'm saying is I'm with you. I'm with you on the fact that this whole entire earth could have once been underwater. In fact, there's a lot of ancient stories that say that, that say that everything started underwater and that the land actually rose up. So that can explain it. What I'm saying is there's more than a biblical explanation. There's thousands of ancient explanations outside of the Bible, some of which makes even more sense than the Bible. I've looked at them all unbiased and I can respect them all, and I try to tie them all together.
Right. Well, I could come up with a lot of explanations of my own that probably involve Elvis, but
no, not my own. For example, I don't know if you can see the screen, but in front of you is the Nile River Valley flood story. That's the story of a whole group of people that can answer the question you just asked me. You asked me, why is there seashells on top of Mount Everest? Well, you can ask the people in the Nile River. They spoke of a flood that happened, right? And here it is right here. The Nile River flood where they speak about the whole earth being flooded. You can see it happen again here in monotheism with Noah's Ark a couple of years later. 1,500 years later, after they spoke about it in the Nile, Noah's story come up. But then even in between that time, the Chinese had a story. I just put up a picture. What I'm telling you is that this is not exclusive to the Bible, and it's actually racist and wrong for us to say that. I'm showing you beautiful stories of all around the world, of all cultures, and because someone is biblical centered, they say screw all of those people's stories. My Bible is the only one. You only can get it from me. All of those are wrong, and to me that's kind of childish. I respect all of these people's flood story, and I think that all of them is a viable explanation.
Well, that's good for you, but you know what? I approached this without a horse in the race. Yeah, I didn't care at the time. I didn't care what the story was. I was after the truth. Okay, and I started looking at all of this. Okay, now what you're saying there is, yes, all these people have their own stories and they predate. Well, we can't tell. There's no way we can tell what predates what. Okay.
Yeah, I can. Speak for yourself, Dave. Much respect, but speak for yourself. I can, brother.
Can I finish? We can't tell who predates who, because we're talking about an event, right? Which you're saying, half saying that it was a local event, but then you're saying, well, it was a global event, because I'm
hold on, wait a minute, wait. Did you just use the word global? Let's just say plain wide event. I hate the word global.
Okay, well that's just my use of language.
Well, let me clarify that for you. I'm saying it's both. See, I'm not biased. I'm not telling the people who say, well, listen what I'm saying. I'm saying that I'm not saying nothing, Dave. I'm not saying this. I research what people are saying, and people in the bushes in Africa, people in the Amazon, cultures around the world, even the pygmies, certain pygmy cultures speak of a yearly flood. And there's also a lot of people speak of the earth being flooded in creation. I don't say where they're wrong and they right. Me, brother Sanchez, I say, hey, both of them are right. The earth was created with a flood, and as above, so below. Since the earth was created with a flood, as a result of that, we're going to be dependent on a yearly flood every year. See, I see divinity in it all. I see how microcosm, macrocosm work with all of these stories. I see how the Creator had a flood story in the beginning, and that we depend on this flood every year to remind us of that macrocosm flood. It's beautiful. You know, and I think the Bible explains it beautiful, but I just don't love the Bible enough to lie and say that it's the only and oldest story. I got respect for the stories that predated it. I respect them all. I have nothing against the Christians, and I love the story. It's a beautiful story that the Bible presents, but it's not original to the Bible. It was on the earth prior to the Bible. That's all I'm saying, Dave.
Well, all I'm saying is I disagree. It wasn't there prior to the Bible, because you know there are events in the Bible that reduce everything back down to square one, to zero. Yeah, the flood story being that one. Yeah, everything was reduced to 8 people, and the population started again from there. So yes, there were things that happened way before that, but that was pre-flood, and some of it was actually pre-Bible. So as I'm looking at the Old Testament, from the first and second verses of the book, it's telling you that there were civilizations before the time that's covered by the Bible. Okay, and that's sort of echoed in Jeremiah, where he talks about the whole world being destroyed and all the cities were destroyed. That tells you that there were cities, and that explains the cities that are underwater, and the pyramid culture that is all over the world. Okay, pyramids, yes, they've been there for hundreds of thousands of years. Yeah, they're the pre-civilizations that aren't covered by the span of the Bible. Yeah, and are irrelevant to us because everybody died. The whole culture is gone because everyone died from it before it. Okay, the Bible is only talking about the last 6,000 or last 7,000 years of Earth's history. Yeah, we're at the end of this of the first 6,000 years now. We're coming to the end of that. But when people are trying to say that, oh yeah, this culture that's on the earth right now is like hundreds of thousands of years old, well, no, I'm sorry. The only time that they can they try and do that is when they try and attach themselves to the previous culture that got completely wiped out. You don't find any of these stories on the pyramids. You don't find any writings on the pyramids. You find them on constructions that were done after the flood. So when they say, "Oh no, it's obviously thousands of years old. Look at the pyramids." No, they came before everything, and that civilization is gone.
So until the Bible came, everyone was pretty much dumb. They didn't really know about none of this stuff until the Bible.
No, the Bible, the actual written Bible came after. It was written in, well, at least the Torah was written in Moses' time.
So we know that the Bible became in mass production when Gutenberg had the printing press. That was when it was massively produced. Even before it was massively produced, it was copied manually. It took years. But what I want to know is that the Bible had to be conceived from somewhere before it was even put on text. And where did it come from then before it was even a book? Because I would like to say Kemet, and I have much proof on that, but I would like to know what you think about it.
Well, the first 5 books were written by Moses, and Moses, yes, was raised as an Egyptian prince, yeah, but he wasn't Egyptian, yeah, he was an Israelite that was raised as an Egyptian, yeah. So those stories didn't come from Egypt. They came from Moses.
Okay, well, can you show me Moses' burial site or his tombstone, or even prove that this biblical Moses that you speak of exists, my brother? Can you prove it other than the Bible? Like, can
I can't.
Well, hold on, wait a minute. Wait. Before you say what I can do, let me speak, Dave, because what I'm doing right now, I asked you the question for a reason. You can't show me no proof of Moses other than me having to believe you. You said that Moses don't come from Egypt, but what I'm showing you on the screen right now is a pharaoh by the name of Tutmosis III. This is who they got Moses from. Now, you can't show me a body, Dave, but I can show you one. So now here's the thing, Dave. You talking about Moses, I'm talking about Moses. I asked you to show evidence, you couldn't do it. The Moses I'm talking about, if somebody say, "Bro Sanchez, prove it," I can say, here we go right here. Tutmosis the third, there was a Tutmosis the second, it was a Tutmosis the first, and they was written out of history. We don't know about these pharaohs because of this Bible dude who we can't prove exists. And I think these Moses' story need to be heard, because these is the real Moses. Just like I told you, the real Adam and Eve story can be seen on the walls of Kemet, but can't no Christian show me no proof of theirs. All I'm doing is being fair, Dave. We flat earthers and we like proof. Okay. I'm not gonna leave.
Can I just say something now then? Well, the word Moses is an anglicized word.
So now,
hang on, let me finish. The word Moses is an anglicized word. So you're saying Tutmosis. I would say it's the same sound. Well, no, it's an anglicized word. The name of the man was Musa, okay? And you can go to Egypt itself, yeah? Nuweiba Beach, yeah?
But see, right now that's really irrelevant to my argument. I'm not getting into semantics. I'm talking about, hold on, what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'll let you finish. Let me finish.
Yeah, I wasn't really finished, but go ahead. I put this up to say something about it, but go ahead.
Right, well, it's not semantics because, we're talking, you're using the word Moses, yeah? Tutmosis, and and the English word Moses. The name is Musa, yeah?
You used the word Moses, David. You said Moses. You didn't say Musa a minute ago. You said Moses, so I used what you used.
I said Moses because I'm English and I use the anglicized
So
word.
I'm English too. Why can't we just stay with Moses? Why we got to talk about now? Why we got to change it now?
Because you're talking about a name of a pharaoh, yeah, and that name is Tutmosis, yeah.
You didn't let me tell you why I put this up. How much do you know about Tutmosis, the Tutmosis bloodline in Egypt? Because that's why I put.
Tell me how it relates to Musa.
Okay, let me pull up something else for you. There's a reason why your Bible says that. And I'm glad you let me speak for a minute, because what you know and what I know, if you look at what I know, I'm adding on to what you know, and you can learn from me just like I learned from you. So here, Acts 7:22 says, Moses was educated in all of the wisdom of the Egyptians and was powerful in speech and action. This the same Moses you just spoke of, and you called him Moses, and you said you couldn't find his body. Here in the Bible, they say he was learned from the Egyptians, and the biblical scholars had to link Moses to the Egyptians because when the Ptolemies invaded Egypt, they wrote the real Tutmosis out of history, my brother, and it breaks my heart. This is a real man. This was my ancestor. And when the Ptolemies invaded Egypt, they wrote this Tutmosis out of history, and they gave you that Moses in the Bible. And this Moses story was turned into myth to us today in America. Like you said, we're Americans, so we call him Moses. I don't know nothing about Musa. I was indoctrinated with a Moses story that took me away from this real Pharaoh's history, and I'm mad about that. I don't like that the Bible did that to me. I wish I would have known about this real Moses who really died, instead of all of them deacons telling me I can't find his body. You just got to believe me, because in flat earth, we all about proof. So I'm going to go to the man that showed me the body, as opposed to the Bible who said I don't got a body, but he come from Egypt, and I go to Egypt and show you his body. And so the thing about it, if this Moses was alive to speak, he'll tell you that those biblical scholars is a lie, and they tampered with real Egyptian history. Because when you go to history today, the Egyptian government got one of the oldest history recording systems on earth, and it's one of the most accurate. They've been recording history longer than any other government, and they'll tell you that they never had no account of no Exodus story and no massive migration ever coming out of Egypt. And that's what they said. So we learned these stories from the people who gave us the globe. We learned these fairy tales from the same theologians who gave us the heliocentric globe, and they made Jesus the new sun instead of the burning ball. So I hope this makes sense, and I'm not disagreeing with your standpoint. I'm just saying there's a big side to the story, Dave, that I'm praying that you look into, research Thutmose, Ashraquesi, and all of these Kemetic scholars, because that's a missing link that I think all biblical centered people need, my brother.
Okay, can I share my screen?
Yeah, I'm gonna take mine down right now, and we're gonna put yours up.
Okay.
Flat power to everybody that's tuned in. Give me a thumbs up if you liking this build between me and my brother Dave. Still sharp and still. Remember that we are going to be linking up here in September, if everything's go well, if Lord will it.
Okay. Can you see what's on the screen, by the way? Okay. I've probably forgotten what. Okay. Oh, damn. Okay. Right. Well, unfortunately my PowerPoint, I lost it on the way over here, and it doesn't have the things I was looking for. But right now, right here, my mouse is over here is something called the Apua papyrus. Apua papyrus. Okay, it's sitting in the Leiden Museum in Holland right now. And literally, it is an Egyptian account of the Exodus from the perspective of an Egyptian. Okay, literally describes the plagues, describes the flight of the Israelites. Okay, there's something else that I actually added here, but it's not here anymore. It's called the famine stele or stele or something like that. It's a rock in Egypt on the island of Sahel, and it literally describes the 7 years of plenty and the 7 years of famine, and the measures taken by the second in command, who would be called Imhotep, who was Joseph. Okay, it was just as the Bible says. You can see also here is the split rock of Oreb. Now, regarding the Ark, Noah's Ark, right? It was found in 1978, I believe, 1978, 1980, somewhere around there, and it's here. It's in the mountain range of the Ararat Mountains in a valley called the Valley of the Eight.
Hold on, that's an ark?
Yes.
It looked like a land structure to me. Where's the boat?
Okay, here it is on Google Earth. Okay.
I'm talking like the boat.
Hang on a second. Here is where the guy, his name's Ron Wyatt, went over with ground radar and metal detectors, and what you're seeing are these lines are a line of rivets, metal rivets, that follow the beams of this boat.
Yeah, I actually watched that whole documentary on this, and I was laughing. I watched a couple of them that was talking about this, and I was like, it just don't present a boat. I mean, it's interesting. It shapes like a boat. I can go find any landmass that's shaped like a boat and say, hey, here's what's under there. I just can't take their words.
It's not landmass because.
Hey, Dave, what I'm saying is this was presented by UFO TV. They deal with conspiracies and all of that. If you look at the icon, I don't believe in.
Just because UFO TV presented it doesn't mean
it doesn't mean that it's false. What I'm saying is it's along the borderline of belief and conspiracy. That's why I showed a real Moses. I showed a real boat. Dave, what I'm saying is if I show you a real ark that we all agreed on Earth, that's the oldest boat on the Earth that's ever found, and you show me a landmass, I can't say forget the ark and go with a landmass that don't just shaped like a hill. I'm sorry, it's not good enough for me. But
bro, you know, I let you talk, you know, without interrupting you, and you know, when I get a chance to speak, you know, am I allowed to speak, or is, you know?
What's happening is when you present something, I want to deal at any given moment when I'm presenting something. You can stop me and ask me questions about the information. When you share your screen, you're a teacher, I'm the student. Now, when I was in class, when my teacher was on the board, I can say, hold up a minute, raise my hand, and get them to stop before you go further so I can understand. I don't get what's going on. I didn't know if you were showing me a boat, a hill, or not, and I wanted to clarify for the people as well. So as you presenting stuff, you lose us at times, and we need to stop you to clarify and examine the evidence. Otherwise, it seems like you got something to hide. You can stop me at any given time you want because it's a dialogue.
I tried stopping you, and you keep stopping me from stopping you.
See, every time I get people on the show and I start making logical points and question their dialogue, they all accuse me of interrupting and stopping them. But it's amazing to me that I can have the sister Rashida on the show and she don't say none of that, and me and her disagree more than anybody. It's only the people that I start challenging to come out of their box and I ask questions about their stuff. I got to stop you if you say something I don't understand. You're teaching. I hope you, I have to, clarify certain stuff.
I'm trying to get to things And you know, if you stop me, I can't get to them, can I?
Yeah, you can. My teacher my teacher would stop and take everyone's questions, get back into it, tied into it, because what you get to is pointless if I don't understand the basis of it.
Sure.
If you present evidence and I don't know what you're presenting with the evidence, what you're saying about that which you presented don't match. And right then I'm scratching my head. So everything you're saying with the visual, I'm not understanding it. So I'm asking questions that so you can clarify certain stuff, because when we teach, we don't know that we may be losing people. You got to slow down and let them ask questions too.
You weren't asking questions there. You were telling me that this is wrong. And
no. I stop you and I ask the question: is that an arc or a hill? What is it? And then I start to explain why I can't accept your evidence as proof. That's all I did, Dave. People love to make me out of a bad guy, but I love y'all, man. Welcome to the...
I'm not trying to make you out as a bad guy, right? I'm trying to explain something, yeah? It might look like a hill to you, and it's boat shaped. It's the size specified in the Bible, yeah? It's got metal rivets running in parallel the way a boat would be made. There's petrified wood. The wood beams are still there, petrified, as it would be after you know, a few thousand years. Yeah, there are ballast stones that were, you know, as you can see here, there's a stone. There's this site had like half a dozen or a dozen of these ballast stones with holes drilled in them so they could weigh down the boat and keep it level. Yeah, the evidence is there. Okay, it's called, you know, it's in a place called the Valley of the Eight. It's in the Ararat Mountains where it was supposed to be. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. The book says something, and here's some physical evidence. It doesn't say it landed in Egypt. It doesn't say that it was made of reeds. Yeah, it said it was made of wood, and it was a specific size. And this is evidence that this boat, which was found 70 miles away from the nearest body of water, yeah, is that ark. I mean, I can't deny that. I mean, you can deny that all you want, but you know, there it is.
Yeah, I'm on definitely, because when I'm gonna deny it because it is deniable. That's why when I present evidence, I like to present things that's undeniable. That's why when I asked you for Moses' body, you said you couldn't find it, but I found Moses' body. Can't nobody deny it. But hold, see, now you go ahead. See, now, and I'm gonna say this: nobody never point out when other people interrupt me, but I don't act funny about it because I know this stuff is sensitive. And I'm telling Dave, if when I'm talking you want to interrupt me, go ahead, because I got pen and paper and I can remember my point. But when I interrupt Dave, people, I think and I just hold on. This is not to you, Dave. Thank you for coming to the show. Let me talk to the chat room. Anybody in the chat room that want to hold with the dialogue that I'm interrupting people, don't come on the show. Somebody just said they don't. That's why they don't like it. Listen, me and this man are both passionate. We interrupting each other, and ain't nobody doing it more than the other. Jesse James said, "Bring it down a level, bro." And I don't think that I'm screaming or being loud right now. I think that I'm passionate, but I can be very more loud than this. So Jesse James, I'm kind of want to block you because I don't know if you trolling. Because one thing I find out, Dave, is people with your accent get a pass. And this is no disrespect to you, Dave, but I'm a country boy from the South and I speak like a rebel with a lot of passion. That's how I grew up. But I find out that I had a lot of people on my show with a UK accent that speaks like this, you know. And even if they talk this way and say something that don't make sense, and it can be a bunch of baloney, you know, that people will say, ooh, he's so smart, he's so wise. I just saw one sister in this chat room say that, ooh, Dave Moore voice is sexy. Now we here talking about knowledge and people listening to your accent getting aroused by it. So the only thing I'm pointing out is it's the accent thing, and people will tell me to calm down. You both speaking passionate. it's really not fair. It's almost a form of censorship. Don't come to this show if you don't like the way I handle that shit, because I'm a black American and this the way I was taught. I don't fucking I don't like everything about who I am and how I was raised in this country, but I was raised this way. I talk this way. It's not an act. And if you can accept one man's dialogue, accept mine. It's hypocritical. People love to show up, say he country, but they listen to Elvis and they love it when Elvis sound country. So it's really unfair, and it's I didn't mean to get off subject to go there, but that had to be said. You can tell people anything if you have a certain accent, and I don't like that. Listen to the bill. Understand that me and a brother gonna cut each other off sometime, and quit being in that chat room like you holier than thou. We having a sensitive conversation, and any of you know this is how we talk in our day-to-day lives. So what make you think it's gonna be different on YouTube? It's a sensitive topic, and I think it's going quite respectful. Shout out again to Dave. If he thought it was too disrespectful, he wouldn't be here. So shout out to my brother. And again, be prepared for the Las Vegas event where he will be speaking here. I don't even agree with everything Dave teaches, as you can see here, but I'm promoting and arranging an event for him. So y'all can get off my ass telling me how bad of a person I am, because I don't even agree with everything this man teach. And I'm still taking time out of my life arranging an event centered around his teachings. And I'm going to gather people and make sure it be an awesome event. And I'm not even teaching now. I haven't even arranged an event for my own self. And I'm going to arrange an event from this man to go speak about some I don't even agree with. That's how much love I got. So learn by my actions and quit trying to crucify me every chance you get. Go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry about that, my brother.
All right, well, it's interesting that you say that I get a pass with this accent. You know, I've got a pretty common accent from where I come from, so yeah, I don't get a pass anywhere. But to your point about Tutmosis, okay, you showed me, a body, and you showed me a picture of a statue and stuff, and the name Tutmosis. Well, the Bible actually says, the Old Testament says that Moses' body was taken away and hidden somewhere. Okay, fair enough. I'll accept that. The point I'm trying to make about what you just showed me, you showed me a body. You showed me a name that is an anglicized name. Okay, I can show you in Egypt a place which is where the Red Sea crossing took place, that says, it's called Nuweiba al-Muzuina, which means the waters of Moses opening in Arabic. Yeah.
And see, you're right. Go ahead.
This is what I'm saying. Yeah. Place names and names do not change. Yeah. So you trying to equate Tutmosis with Musa, yeah, using the language that is over there, yeah. That name would have been, it wouldn't be Tutmosis.
What I'm telling you is, if we go over there, the name Bible wouldn't even be Bible. Everything you speaking to me right now wouldn't be that if we translate it, Dave. But like you said, okay, let me finish. Hold on. Let me make my point. I'll let you speak. I'm going to be very brief. What I'm saying is it's semantics, because I didn't bring up Moses. You said something about Moses, and I said, hey, that's a good thought. Let's bring up Tutmosis, because that's what I researched when they told me about Moses. When I got the Bible, Dave, and we're talking the King James version, because you just brought up King James, the word Musa is not in there. I didn't learn that in the Bible. They taught me about Moses in the Bible, so I'm going with that. They teaching everybody about Moses, so I'm going with what's mainstream. I know you can interpret it and translate it in different languages, even more than the one you just did. The ancient Chinese got another way they say Moses, but I don't care about that. What I'm saying is very simple. The Bible told me that there was a man named Moses who came from Egypt, and I asked the Bible, where is his burial site and his tombstone, and the Bible says, I don't know. Then I go to Egypt and I say, hey, have you guys ever heard of this biblical Moses? And they say, yeah, we've heard of Moses. His name is Tutmosis. Here is his body and his tomb, and here go his history. And the history we read about this Tutmosis from Egypt is similar. You can see how they took this guy out of history and changed the story in the Bible. So what I did was I heard the perspective you given, Dave, the biblical perspective of Moses, and then I went to my Egyptian brothers, and I'm friends with people in Egypt on Facebook. I researched the hell out of this before I was even a flat earther. I wanted to hear everyone's account of who Moses was, and the only place that can present a historical lineage of a Moses guy was Egypt. And this is Tutmosis the third. We're not even talking about the second and Tutmosis the first. So what I'm saying is you can go along and say, well, this isn't Musa or whatever. No matter what you call this guy, this is the same guy that all of these cultures are interpreting as Moses, no matter what you call him. Even though, just like some people may say is Jesus, some people may say is Yeshua, some people make Jesus got so many names it's pitiful, but we know they're talking about the same guy. So that's all I'm saying. I didn't want to get all into semantics. I didn't want to offend you. I just wanted to show you something that I was presented with that changed my mind. And I don't expect it to change your mind immediately. That's why I said, Dave, take this stuff, go research it more, look at Ashra Kwesi videos, and let's do another hangout so I can see what you come with now. Because this is,
Okay, but I'm not speaking about semantics here. Yeah, we call him Moses because we speak English. Yeah, over in Egypt they don't speak English. They wouldn't translate, their characters over there in English, right? They would use their own language. Yeah. So if you come with them and say, "Oh, I'm looking for Moses," oh, we have a Tutmosis. Yeah, they're speaking in their language. You're speaking in English. Yeah, and you're saying, oh, there must be the same then. Yeah, I'm saying that over there, they have a place that mentioned Moses, yeah, in the title of the place, right? It's Nuweiba al-Muzaina, yeah? And it's the waters of Moses opening, okay, where the crossing was. So anybody over there that's any character that would be connected to the biblical Moses, as we say it in England, would be called Musa in that language.
And what I'm telling you is I'm not denying that. And I'm not saying that. I'm saying in that language is called Musa, and other variations of it is Tutmosis. We know that the word Tut came about in Egypt during the latter days of the Ptolemies. You had a pharaoh called Tutankhamun. We know that all of these words spoken on the earth can be interchangeable. We know that I can say Jesus or Jesus, but it's the same person. I'm not arguing with nothing you saying, Dave. I'm saying that what you saying don't deny that Musa is this dude Tutmosis in this lineage right here. Otherwise, they'll have another body that show me with Musa. What I'm saying is all roads lead to Rome. In this case, all roads leads to this sarcophagus. And you're right. Whoever put this up here, they call this thing Tutmosis. But if I pull this up in another language, it may say Musa the third. Or if I pull it up in another language, it may say Aricarian the third. But this is this same mummy, you know. So that's all I'm saying when I say semantics. I'm interested in going beyond the name and giving me a physical identity. That's why I asked for the body. I want the body because this is where I can touch and feel something that's close to, okay, we got. And then I think the Bible said that Moses was buried in the Valley of Kings. I think you was looking for.
It says that he was buried in a secret place.
Okay, secret place. Cool, I can go with that. Well, the secret place happens to be Egypt, and here he is right here. Egyptians have been saying it for years that the real Moses was there. Kemetic scholars have been making this argument for years. Ashra Kwesi and many more are making it, and it's an argument that I still stand to. It's an argument that's famous, popular, and that's very haven't been debunked by many. That's why the reason I embrace this, Dave, is because it has physical proof. It has an ark with it. I can show you an ark in Kemet like I just did. It's a physical boat. But what the but what the Christian theologians are doing, they're taking me to a chunk of grass like you just did, and they're saying this is the boat. But what the Kemetic scholars are doing, they're taking me to a physical boat that I can touch in Kemet, and everybody's agreeing that it's one of the oldest man-made vessels on earth. Now, I ain't saying either one is wrong or right. I'm saying, me personally, that one wins me over. I'm choosing to go with the physical boat that I can see as opposed to some under the ground I can't. And I'm choosing to go with the physical body of Tutmosis that I can see as opposed to the secret location that no one can figure out. That's just me personally. I'm not saying you wrong or I'm wrong. I'm saying that I'm just a man about physical proof, and I'm just accepting that one, but I respect yours as well.
Okay, well, I'm similar, but you know what? I'm not going to accept, just any physical proof that's put in front of me. Yeah. And I'm not saying that's what you're doing. I'm just saying you can show me that boat, but I'm going to look at it and say, is that 3,000 years old, or 4,000, whatever it is, and then go, okay, well, if that's supposed to be the ark, well, the Bible actually gives you full, all the dimensions of this ark, and what you showed me didn't look like the dimensions that were the ark was specified.
And it's because the people who gave you the dimensions of the ark, like I told you, if you weren't listening, they wrote this story out of history. So they knew about this ark and they knew about this real Moses, but they wrote them out of history by giving you them other dimensions and telling you that life was recreated by God, seeding it in Noah's ark with 2 mosquitoes, 2 worms, 2 lizards, 2 penguins, 2 seals, 2 butterflies, and a story that's fairy tale that don't make no sense. What I'm telling you, they gave us the fairy tale Noah story that you bringing up now to hide this real story. So you right, the Bible don't tell the real story. I agree.
So who is the one who's actually saying that Kemet is the real one and the Bible is all lies?
No one is saying that Kemet is the real one and the Bible is all lies, and I think that's why you're probably taking me wrong. Let me clarify. The Bible is not all lies. The Bible is just retelling ancient sacred stories that were told over and over and over before the Bible even existed. And we're talking about stories that go so far back to the history of humanity, we don't even know the original languages that they were spoken of. But as far as back as we can research, everyone was saying the same thing about waters above, waters below, a sea being split. You brought up Moses and the Red Sea being split. Well, that same Red Sea splitting story is being interpreted in other parts of the world as the beginning of the creation. So all of these stories being interpreted in different ways for different reasons, because when other people talk about the splitting of the sea, they talk about when the cosmos was being created and the great deep was divided, the seas were split, and you had waters above and the ocean below. So that story can go both ways. And what I'm saying is it's wrong to say, well, no, I'm not going to take that way. I'm only going to take my way. And I don't want to hear no one else's. What I'm saying, David, is I admire the biblical account. I admire the biblical reinterpretation of it. And I give the Bible scholars credit for rebuilding an ancient story in the way of Noah. But what I'm saying is we have to give the original people who had these same sacred stories their due respect. I'm just saying to the Bible people, it's not original with the Bible. And it hurts me that, when we talk about ancient people, we can't see that there were ancient people like the Mayan, the Olmecs, the Incans, the Aztecs, who didn't have the Bible, but who had a concept of a flood story, even in their drawings, in their mythologies, in their cuneiform writing. And I think that these things are not being talked about because they want us solely focusing on the biblical flood accounts, the biblical stories. And I think it's biased. I think everyone deserves an ear. The ancients, the biblical perspective, the Quran, the Dhamma, and that's just being fair. That's why I don't go with any one religion. I think we all should look at them all and put them all together and see how they all complement each other and how they all tell the same truth.
Right. Well, you just said that every one of them deserves an ear, but why is it that my perspective doesn't deserve an ear?
Hey, brother, you're on my show right now, so you can have an ear to my entire audience. I'm also going to arrange this event in Vegas and give you a bigger ear. You have an ear with me. I just want you to know that. You got it right now. Sister Rashida have a voice on this channel as well. Everyone have a voice on this channel. So hold on. You asked the question and I'm answering it, Dave. You said, why don't your story have an ear? I'm saying, hey, brother, that's why we're doing the show. Anytime you want to come over here and speak, you can. You have a platform here with Bro Sanchez, like I said, whether I agree with you or not. Now, I grew up a Christian. I'm from Bama, the Bible Belt. All I ever heard my life was about the Bible. And even when I got into the conscious community, Bible, 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 because that's the argument from the Hebrew Israelites and the other brothers. So I'm bringing a new comedic perspective that made me say, hey, why all the Christians arguing about the doctrines when all the stories the same, all the ancients was saying the same thing? Why are we arguing about who had it first and whose is right? What I'm doing is showing you other stories and saying, hey, maybe we should all have respect for everyone's account of the flood and see how they all can be sort of the same.
Okay, but I thought the point of me talking about, you know, what I found is to hear what I found, not say, well, no, what you found isn't right. There's these people over here are saying this and these people over here are saying that. That's what I mean about having a voice here, because if I imagine if somebody from the Kemet community wanted to talk about something they've discovered, you probably wouldn't interrupt them and tell them, oh well, they say this and they say that. You'll let them talk and maybe sort of ask a question here and there, but not try and shout down what I'm trying to say because you personally believe that the world works a different way.
No, well, I'm gonna repeat myself for the third time. I don't know why you're getting offended and I don't know what's going on. No, what I'm saying here is, again, let me say this for the final time. I have respect for every one flood account story. I'm here to hear yours and I'm challenging yours. When people from Kemet come on this panel, they get challenged more than anybody. People from Kemet have a hard time on this panel, Dave. So you actually getting far way more respect than a comedic person would get. And I'm pretty sure everybody in the chat room would agree with that. Comedic people have a hard time on this panel. You're getting far more respect than a comedic person would get. I'm just bringing up their story because they got good points. They got a visual account of a Moses and an ark. And I like visual things. So if you're telling me, hey man, I just want to come on your show, tell it how it is with me, and I don't want to hear, I don't want to be challenged. I want it to be just my side. I don't want you to share nothing. I can't do that. Along with you teaching, okay. Yeah, along with you teaching, I'm going to bring up things that can plug into and shed more light because we both are teachers. We can work together. So you can stop me and interject as well as I can do you and add things to bring more clarity to the situation. So now that I bring up this Moses and you brought up your Moses, we got two sides and the people can make a clear choice instead of just hearing one. And I wish there was more we can bring up. See, because I like to bring all of it out so we can bring it together to see. So I'm not bashing you. I'm challenging you with other research.
Okay, well, we've just spent a good, 30, 45 minutes on one thing because, this seemed to have triggered you.
No, it didn't trigger me. It opened up an area of research that we all need to look at. Everyone knows about Moses. Hey, do me a favor. In the chat room, if you never heard of Tutmosis, put a 1 out there. I'm going to show you something right quick, Dave. I'm going to show you why what you're saying is not true, and this is actually a great respect for Bill. Nothing triggered me. Oh, well, I take that back. Knowledge triggers me. Dialogue triggers me. Challenges triggers me. Someone come along and challenge me about my mother goddess teachings, I'm going to be all ears. You see all of those warns out there, Dave? That's how many people, those people, hold on, they learned today about Moses. If I wouldn't have brought that up, you wouldn't have brought it up. So I had to share my account of my research with Moses and show you my research with yours, your biblical Moses. So now they got two of them, and there's a lot of people who learned something new today. They didn't know that there was a body that they can find with Moses. Now they can go and explore this Exodus story, because this is the real Moses. And they can prove me wrong or say that I'm a liar, and they can say that, or either I'm right. But now they got both sides. That's all I'm doing, Dave. I brought you on here to give your side, but I'm not just going to let it be one-sided. That won't be a good show.
But I wouldn't at any time say that that the Kemet thing is absolutely wrong. Okay, I've got a whole bunch of evidence, right? Physical evidence that says that the world worked in this particular way. Okay, and it's not just backed up with. I'm just not looking at the word that's written in the book. I'm looking at it in Paleo Hebrew. I'm looking at the physical names of places and looking at it from an ancient perspective, right? And I'm not really doing it justice, because I don't know your side of it. I haven't listened to whoever it was that you told me. So I don't know what your full perspective is on this, but I'm bloody sure about what I'm talking about here, because I've just spent the last 3 years, chasing down leads here and finding some amazing things, not only in the Bible, but with who we are, where we came from. What's actually going on in the world. It all lines up. I can't see that same alignment with this Hermetic Kemet stuff.
Yeah, that's because you, like you just said, Dave, you just admitted it. You said you haven't looked into it. I can rewind it. You just literally said that like not even a minute ago. You said you didn't. Yeah, you said you. Yeah, okay, let me finish. You said you did not look into any of those teachings of those great scholars, Kemetic scholars. And listen, until you do that, then you're gonna say that what you're saying that none of what you see aligns up with this Kemetic stuff. Well, you haven't looked into it. Of course it doesn't. I can say that nothing don't lie. I can say that, hey man, far as my research go, all of my research show that the Bible got all the answers. But if I haven't looked into the Buddhist book or the Quran, I can't really definitively say that. I can't really say that surely if I haven't looked at the stuff. So until you go and look at it, then you can make the statement and I can really listen to you. I can't really take nothing from you now. What I'll say is the Moses you hear in the Bible, like you said, there is no body of him, that he's a mythological character that we can't prove exists, and there's no lineage left behind of him. This Moses right here have an actual lineage. There were many that was, like I said, this is the third because he was the most famous. But there's a history written about this Moses all through Egypt during the time that the biblical history is biblical Moses supposed to been there. So the timeline add up, and one thing got to be said when I look at that. Either the Bible is lying or they're lying, or either that was just two Moseses. Because one of these Moseses people wrote about. They wrote about the Moses the second, the first, because they was keeping history during this time. But they didn't write about the Moses who split the sea. They didn't write about that Moses. So there were historians and people keeping history. And we can't find the history of none of the biblical characters, but we can find remnants of their names of real historical people who was written out of history. So people was talking about Moses for a long time up until the Bible became popular. Now we talking about Moses and don't nobody even know who Moses is. That's why all of them people just put a 1 out there in the chat room because they didn't even know about this real Pharaoh who supposedly be the real Moses. And I think it's important for us to know all sides of the story to be fair. So I'm not saying nothing against the Bible. I'm saying it's one account. And until you get this account from Egypt and the Bible account that Dave got, and even more biblical accounts, because there's so many Christians who disagree with Dave. All right, I can give you a bunch of Christians now who would say Dave don't know what he's talking about. So even Christians not going to all be on the same page. Not even biblical scholars agree. So all I'm saying is take all of the research from the Kemetic people, from Dave, from me, do your own research, look it up, look at all sides, and make your own decision. That's what I'm saying, Dave. I'm not saying for them to follow me or you. I'm saying me or you are great minds, and when we come together and get passionate about our teachings, we teach people stuff. That's why people just learned something new today, man. Thank you for coming.
Right. Well, the thing is, I have sort of researched the Kemet stuff. I just haven't researched the people you're talking about. That's the only thing. That's why I'm trying to get your perspective, because it doesn't make much sense to me, and I'm obviously missing something.
What I told you is I'm gonna send you an email of all the research you need to do, because you got a long amount of research to do. What I'm gonna be giving you is the work of Kemetic scholars that's been being researched from Kemetic since the 80s, before I was born, starting with the great Dr. Ben, all the way up to the great teachers of today, which is Ashra Kwesi, the great Miriam Kwesi, even Francis Cress Wilson, most definitely Francis Cress Wilson, as well as modern teachers like even Shaka Amosi today, in the modern Kemetic world. I will even give a salute to even your Setis and your young pharaohs. I don't agree with how they interpret in the Kemeticism, but shit, they talking about the history. All I'm saying is there's a plethora of Kemeticism that you're not aware of, Dave, because you are from the UK, you're from Europe, and there's a plethora of Kemeticism scholarship that I'm not aware of, because there's books they got in Europe that they don't got here. There's teachers there that they don't got here. So when me and you come together, Dave, my purpose was for you to share concepts and for me to share concepts, because I'm giving a perspective from a community that's been around here in America for even before the 80s, dealing with Kemetic scholarship. And I'm pretty sure not many European blacks like yourself are aware of many of these teachers and this extensive history of research. And until we can thoroughly speak on it, we have to go back to this research. So I'm going to be emailing you that, and it's very important that you look into it. It's very important, my brother.
Okay, but as I said, I have researched the Kemet stuff. And again, I do not see how it lines up with today, what's going on today, who's in the world.
Yeah, I know that. I know you said that like 3 times. What I said you're not going to see, I didn't see it, Dave. I don't know if you hear what I'm telling you here. You're missing a huge amount of information. When you say I've researched the Kemetic stuff, you haven't researched nothing until you get this email that I'm going to give you, because the leading scholars in Kemeticism laid the whole foundation for Kemetic history in America, and for the whole foundation of what we call the Black conscious community, which we both have to respect their scholarship. And what I'm saying is to just keep repeating yourself, saying that it don't make sense. We know that. What I'm telling you is it's not going to make sense. It didn't make sense to me until I done months of this research. Flat Earth didn't make sense to me until I done research. I was a globe head saying it don't make sense because I wouldn't watch a video. I wouldn't read a book. The moment I looked into it, then it made sense. So I'm not arguing with you anymore, Dave. I'm saying thank you for your work. You have a lot to offer, but I'm telling you, we both have more research to do. And I think you can email me some links and some stuff to further my research. And like I said, when we end this, I'm going to email you a bunch of stuff to further our knowledge so that we can kind of be some cold crackers, brother. We got to look at all of this knowledge by all of these teachers, be open-minded, and try to see where we went wrong and bring the pieces together. But you have to be willing to kind of push aside what you think you already know and be challenged. So I really admire you, and I think that you can do all of those things. That's why I have you here. But I just think what happens is when we deal with certain topics, they always get passionate, intense, and that's expected. We're only human.
Sure, and but as I said, I found all the stuff that I found actually links in to everything that's going on today. Even this conversation, right, is prophesied, and what we're seeing is the Old Testament playing itself out. It tells us why there's this headlong rush to get the New World Order into place. That's been speeding up. Even in these last couple of years, it's sped up massively to the point where they don't care that we can see what they're doing. Yeah, it's because they're running out of time. The Book of Remembrance gives you a time limit. It tells you when. So that's what I'm saying. I'm thoroughly convinced of what I found out because it all lines up. And yeah, you can say, oh well, this other stuff lines up, and at the same time, you can somebody from Nepal will say, oh yeah, well our teachings line up with it as well. But I'm telling you, this is what I found out.
And I'm not denying that. I'm telling you that everyone that goes on a search is going to find this same story, because it was essentially the same thing in all of these ancient societies. The flood story, it was reinterpreted in many ways. These different great people had different many names around the world. Like in certain parts of the world, they probably call Michael Jackson something different. They probably say Mikhail. You know what I mean? And you probably be like, who the hell are you talking about? They talking about Michael Jackson. So my thing is this, Dave, you are right, brother. You're 100% right. I'm not denying anything. I know your biblical perspective. I was a Christian. I know the arguments. What I'm saying is there's more accounts of these same historical, well, let's say there's more accounts of these biblical events other than the Bible. You said you looked at a little Comedicism. I'm not denying that. I'm saying you hadn't looked at enough to make the conclusions I'm making. Otherwise, you'll make them. So what I said is I'm going to send you the information I saw so you can either make those conclusions or say, Brother Sanchez, I saw what you saw, but I don't get what you're getting out of it. But until you see it, you really can't. It's like me trying to talk flat earth to somebody and they never saw the model before. They don't have no idea when I say certain stuff because they have no visual of the model. So that's why I said this is not really a disagreement at all, because what I'm saying is really syncretism, that the biblical account is legitimate. There was a flood. There was two floods, if you ask me, microcosm, macrocosm, when the cosmos was created, and the floods that we should depend on every year, that they stopped with all of the damming. But that's another story. But I'm saying the Bible has this story in its way, as well as a lot of ancients. And I'm telling the people, before you say which is right and which wrong, do the research, take it further than me and Dave. Take what Dave know and what I know and what we don't know, and look at some more flood stories around the world. Put them all together, see what makes sense to you, because that's what it's about. Not just taking one, but listening to everyone's account and then seeing where we arrive.
Well, the thing is, you don't really know what I'm saying, because I'm not a Christian. I've said that before. I'm not a Christian. Yeah, I don't take the Christian perspective. Yeah, I totally reject the whole of the New Testament as a fraudulent work. So I'm not a Christian. Never will be.
I always tell people that you are a Moor. Are you a Moor?
I'm not a Moor, no, not at all. It just so happens that when Facebook got rid of my profile, I chose another one based on the research I'd done at that time, which made me think I was a Moor, but I'm not.
That's crazy. I always thought you was a Moor. I know you got a couple of Moorish perspectives. Shout out to the Moors as well, man. that's another thing, because I know you share a couple of their perspectives. But what I like about Dave is that, like he said, he's not a Christian. Dave is not a Moor. Dave is a man on a quest for truth, if you ask me. And I think that Dave is willing to accept bits and pieces of the information from all sources to make it make sense in his mind, like we all do. So what I would say is that that's all I want to do, is walk away here with some more area of research and then give you some more to do the same. I don't think you're a Christian, because most Christians will be up here. We wouldn't even be this historical. We'll be arguing about, was Jesus real or not. So I know you don't even have a Jesus concept, correct?
Absolutely not. But the key thing about what I've learned is that it all boils down to one thing, really. Our task is to be right with our Creator, right? And that essentially is to abide by his laws, commandments, and statutes. And simple. And they're things that we should already know anyway. You know, we should have written in our hearts that we shouldn't kill anybody and lie to people. And if everybody in the world kept the commandments, what a world that would be. Yeah. And essentially that's all we have to do. And I do know that not all of us are going to do that. You know, there's a lot of us who are too wrapped up in this society, in this satanic society, and they don't want to let go of it. They won't make it. There's also a load of people who are worshipping foreign gods, and you know, that's why only a remnant are due to make it.
Hey, you know, Dave. Okay. I'm sorry. I thought you had stopped. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead. I was going to ask you about foreign gods.
Yeah, well, all I was just going to say was, you know, that's why only a remnant of us are going to make it, because, you know, the way is narrow. Apparently, the way is narrow, and the narrow part is living in the Most High and keeping His commandments. You know, everyone else isn't going to be able to do that, and that's all. That's all I'm going to say.
Hey, Dave, let me ask you something. When you say that people are worshiping foreign gods, you mean that gods contrary to the ones of the Bible? Gods that's not... Yeah, so what I want to ask then is...
Yeah, I'm talking about the Most High I Am of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
So if someone, for example, if they worship Kali in India, or if they worship Allah in the Middle East, those would be considered foreign gods, right?
Yeah, and
now
interestingly,
go ahead. You still go ahead.
Okay, interestingly, when you look at the word El, which is one of the words that was the Jewish scribes replaced, you know, the actual name with, the word El means angel. It means well, essentially, when you look at all the meanings, it means fallen angel. It means devil, essentially. Now, when you try and pronounce that in Paleo Hebrew, okay, there's no E in Paleo Hebrew, so it's A-L, and every consonant has an assumed R sound after it. So when you say the word El in Paleo Hebrew, it's pronounced Allah. It's saying that this Allah is a fallen angel. It's the Satan.
Well, there was a goddess that predated Allah called Alat, and the name Ah is the sound of refreshment. When you take some water into your mouth, ah, it's refreshing. It's what we get when we say, hey, mama, mama, and father. Father is Baba, and you know, like you said, Allah, Jehovah, Krishna, Kali, you know, Ma'at, and the Dogon tribe, they have a goddess called Amma that we spoke of earlier, and it's not the devil, it was the diva. So when you start researching the concept of devil and who had the tail and the trident, you will see that the word devil was really diva, and this was the sound of refreshment, dealing with those waters above that we was just speaking about. See, Noah, and this great flood is dealing with water and refreshment. And all of the ancestors had this concept, and Baal and Baal is the same, because when the bell rings, it's the vibration of For example, like the Muslim mosque shaped like a bell, and if you can have a seashell to your ear that's dome shaped, it'll say like the ocean. But I'm saying all that because it's all important, and it ties into this very conversation, but also telling you a little bit of my research and what led me into discarding the whole devil concept. I used to believe in a red dragon that's responsible for evil, until I found out how that was the great mother being desecrated. But that's a whole nother topic, Dave. I'm enjoying the bill. What I'm going to say is, when you talked about the foreign gods earlier, and I asked you, was Kali and Allah foreign gods, you said yes. My next question after that, before we got into that, was going to be, are those foreign people? When we talk about Indonesian people and Middle Eastern people, we're Americans. When we consider those people foreigners?
Okay, I'm not quite sure the question there, but the foreign gods, all of these gods are fallen angels, all of them. Okay, there is no such thing as the devil. The devil, that's a New Testament concept. When you look at the Old Testament, it doesn't appear once ever. Okay, but it appears 4 times as the word devils, with an S. Okay, when you look at that up in Paleo Hebrew, you find it's referring to a people. Okay, I'm not going to tell you who they are right here, but you'll probably guess, but it's actually referring to a particular people, not an entity. Okay, that is a New Testament invention. And this is what a lot of people get stuck on, because when I talk about, the Book of Remembrance and what it says in there and how it goes, they automatically pull up things from the New Testament and try and say, well, no, that's not right because it says in Matthew or whatever. No, that's not our book. Our book is, starts at the beginning and goes all the way to the end, and there's no room for a New Testament. So all of these gods are actually the fallen angels, just renamed in different cultures. Right, the same stories. They kind of degrade as they move away from the original story, but they're the same stories, same gods, repeated over and over again.
And that's kind of like what I was saying earlier, how we all saying the same thing, but we're arguing about who had it first and whose is right. Like, that's why I asked you, are those foreign gods? And you said yes. And I asked you, well, are those foreign people? Yes, those are foreign people. So if I go to Germany, they're going to have a Mercedes-Benz is known as a foreign car. We know what a foreign car is. It's name some foreign cars. I think the Ferrari is another foreign car. So when I hear the term foreign god, I think about foreign cars. I think about foreign people with their foreign gods, which just simply means it ain't what we been taught, and everyone look at that as alien, like, oh man, they got a foreign god. We can't play with them. We can't talk to them until they get our God. We can't come together because, man, they got a foreign God. And when you look at Christianity, Islam, and all of the religions, there's been great wars that's been fought since the conception of these religions. They still being fought today. One of the number one causes of war, if you ask me, is religion. Now, I don't have nothing against religious people, but I'll be lying if I didn't be vocal with that and speak from my heart. But I think that Christians are some very sweet, loving people. When I say that the number one cause of war in the name of religion, they use these good people to go and fight wars for them. They have Christians praying in the name of Christ to go kill young men who praying in the name of Allah. And the two governments at the top ain't praying in the name of nobody but money. While they got these young kids blowing each other up, saying, Jesus protect my American soldiers and Allah protect my Middle Eastern soldiers. I don't like the divisive aspect of it. So, you know, but I think that it is some good loving people in them, though. You one of them, Dave.
Well, I'm not a Christian. I'll say that again. I'm not a Christian. And you know, what our book is telling us is that we're not supposed to be forcing our most high on other nations. It doesn't say that. Yeah, it's saying that we are held to his standards because our ancestors made a blood covenant with the Most High. Yeah, we're not supposed, you know, it's saying let them, you know, worship whoever they want. Their, you know, consequences will befall them, you know, their own consequences. Yeah. What will happen to them is up to them. But we are held to a standard, right? And the book basically tells us that we are the Most High's ambassadors on earth. Okay, and we are held to a standard. And if we don't live up to that standard, we'll get punished for it. But if we do live up to that standard, you know, we'll get rewarded for it. That's basically what he's saying. It doesn't say go and force them to think the way we think. Yeah, but you know, that's the Christian attitude. What was that? You're muted.
Sorry about that, Dave. I had somebody ask me an important question just come in. I hear what you're saying. I want you to continue expounding on it. I'm listening.
Well, I literally just finished what I was saying, actually.
Yeah, I think what I get from it is because somebody just threw me totally off, man. That's why I was asking you to expound on it. But basically what I want to say with everything being said is you know, I just think that everyone was on the same page before all of the religions. I think that there wasn't always a religion, but there was always spirituality. And as long as there's a book to dictate what to do and what not to do, it's a form of a religion. If this book wasn't printed, I still would know the way to the source. What I'm saying is this: when you say that we gotta obey the Lord's laws because the book says this and the book says that, my question to you is, what would happen to those? And no disrespect, I'm doing this for teaching purposes. What would happen to those souls who say, screw the book, I'm gonna make my own law and follow my heart, and I don't care what the Bible say. I'm not bound to the Bible. I don't identify with the Bible, and I got it all figured out because the universe speaks to me directly in my heart. What will you say to because there's a lot of individuals feel that way. What will you say to those?
Okay, well, again, according to the Book of Remembrance, it tells you that the people of the other nations, well, it doesn't matter. They can believe what they want. The people who have oppressed us, who have afflicted us, for a punishment. And it also says, well, when I say a punishment, a grievous punishment, and about us, ones of us who do not follow his law, then we will be punished as harshly as those who have oppressed us. That's basically it. So, you know, it's a choice for everybody. You can choose to go with the oppressors, or you know, their society, or separate yourself from it and follow the law.
Hey, hey, Dave, let me say something, man. I want you to know something real talk. I respect the hell out of you, my brother, and I'm always support and share your work, man, despite us having disagreements, because we both influential. And I think I'm gonna tell you something, Dave. I don't take none of this talk today personal. I gotta shut down here right now, but we're gonna have more and more of these, and everyone know Dave will be in Vegas this month. Let me say this, Dave. I don't take none of this stuff personal. I love it when we get passionate and tense. That's the human part of us that's trying to figure this shit out. It's kind of like seeing a bunch of people working on a project, and then at some point we disagreeing on which way the screw should go or which angle should be molded a certain way. But we all got one thing in common. We want the project to come out right. We just want to see the project turn out right. And I think you want to see a better earth, just like me. And along the way, we may agree or disagree on how to bring it forth and what doctrine we should assume and what beliefs we should have. But I think if we don't talk about them, put them all on the table, have dialogue like we doing today, then our beliefs never get challenged, and the people will never see the different viewpoints come to life. When we have these type sessions right here, the best come out of both of us, and also you see what we're really passionate about in areas where we need improvement and don't need improvement. I know I don't know everything, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I learned a lot from you, brother. And I just hope that I can return a favor by at least teaching you a tidbit of something. Because after all, you've been around, I consider you a veteran above me in this community, just to put that out there to everybody. So, you know, let that be known, man, that, yeah, it's all love.
I mean, obviously I don't take any of this personally either. And you know what? One of the things I'm teaching at the end of all this is that with one of my brothers, I will never get angry. I'll never, you know, I'll always agree to disagree. If we disagree about stuff, let's leave it there. Yeah. But because at the end of the day, we're brothers. Okay. We're brothers in captivity. Yeah. In the land of our enemy. And as such, now we shouldn't be fighting. We should always be helping each other. That's the message that I have to my brothers and sisters out there.
And I think you have a very powerful message. I think that your message really needs to be heard in a time too where they see all of this racial war. I think we need control over the narrative so we can give everybody back their historical standpoint with the truth, whether it be from the biblical perspective, because everyone not going to be a Christian, but millions of us going to be Christians. If Dave can come and speak to the masses and tell the bulk of the Christian community out there, because we know the Christians are split up. It's different denominations, it's different interpretations of history. I think you have a universal approach with all of that, Dave, being that, like I said, you're versed in the Moorish history, you're versed in all types of history. You got the biblical perspective, and you also a flat earther who comes from England. So you seeing so much diversity here, and I think your message is unique because at the end of it is ultimately trying to show each quote-unquote race their role in the cosmos from a biblical cosmology standpoint.
Well, I actually think that the Most High has been sort of guiding me along this path because, you know, I started with 9/11, did, and I've looked at so many areas of life and seen the lies behind it. So this is what has led me to this perspective because I've been pushed towards it. You know, seeing how the human body is absolutely perfect. You know, it's just struggling under the poisons that are sort of pushed into it every single day. Yeah, but there are ways that you can use your body to, okay, you don't need food. Yeah, you don't need water. You don't need medicine. Yeah, you realize you're actually free of this society. You're not bound by it, yeah, because they're controlling you with food, water, and medicine, yeah. But once you realize that your body is perfect, then you realize how much more powerful you are, right? You start looking at language. You start looking at the way we use our voices, differently to other people, and you find that we're even more powerful in that way as well. So yeah, I've been pushed along this path, and it's almost as though it's trying to tell me that I'm on a mission to share this with my brothers and sisters.
And that's what's up. Hey Dave, I'm gonna be giving you an email so we can do a part 2 on this, and hopefully we can make me and you a hangout a regular basis where we share our screens and try to get some more clarity on the biblical history, the Genesis creation story, and see what the comedic folks were saying with Nud and Gab, and kind of do some live research together. We can have long hangouts and talk about these scriptures, biblical people. I also want to shout out to Flat Out Elected. That's a YouTube channel that deal with flat earth from a heavy Christian perspective. I know you're not a Christian, but I would like to have his perspective on a panel on one of these, just to have that. See, that's what I'm about. I want all of these opposing viewpoints so we could put them all on the table, get clarity. The people will decide, because all of them are interesting concepts, and I respect your work, Dave. And like I said, thank you for coming on. Thank everybody for tuning in. I'm about to email Infinite Plane Society right now, and like I said, just refresh your screen. Give me about no more than 30 minutes, and we're gonna have another show right back to back.
Oh, here.
All right, so I think we good to go now. Sorry about that little gap, people. Me and Dave, we still with you, and we just about to close and let you guys stand by. Like I said, me and IPS coming up. Dave, did you have any more information for the people before we get out of here, my brother?
No, pretty much got over the basics, but yeah, the message is that we've got to stick together. We've got to get past all this petty bickering and foolishness that we're engaged in at the moment, and stick together.
And ultimately, that's the perfect thing to end on. I'm not even going to come behind that, because at the end of the day, that's exactly what needs to happen. I'm with you on that. So, Dave, I appreciate you for coming through, and I'm going to keep in touch with you. I'm going to email you, and we're going to continue this dialogue.
Okay.
All right. You have a good one, bro.
Later.
All right.
Talk to you later.
Great, guys. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to stop this stream, and me and Infinite Plane Society are going to be right back right away. So give me no more than 30 minutes to contact him and to let this stream upload so we can start a new one. Flat power. We keeping it going for y'all all day. Appreciate you for tuning in. This is the place to be.